educational purposes, focusing on the life, career, and legacy of Elvis Presley. While we aim to provide accurate and engaging material, certain elements may include personal opinions, creative interpretation, or historical speculation. This channel is not affiliated with, endorsed by, or connected to Elvis Presley Enterprises, Graceland, or any official estate representatives. All images, audio, video, and references are used under fair use for commentary, research, and educational discussion. Viewers are encouraged to verify historical details through official sources. The creators of this channel make no claims of ownership over copyrighted material and assume no liability for how the content is interpreted or used. By watching, you agree to these terms and acknowledge the content is provided for entertainment only.
Hello, hello, hello. And we have Scooby behind the screen.
Yes, because I don't have a shirt on.
Oh, it's like 100 degrees there where he's at. Hello, everybody. Who we got in here now? We got that was me. Hey, Natalie. Hey, Teresa. Oh, God, why do I always forget his name? Charlie? Am I?
Yes.
Anyway, hey, Charles. God, sucks getting old. Hope everyone had a wonderful. Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. Thanks. Hello, Nancy. Hello, Dylan.
Give me 2 seconds. I'm just going to go over to the headphones.
Okay, cool. That then.
Power off.
Power off? Oh. Hello, Lori. Oh, we got a nice crew already, dude. We're up to 25 already. Hey. Is that Markrian or Markrian? Not for sure. I think you've been here before, I believe. Brent. We talked about you last night on the radio.
Oh,
we had a blast.
Those traffic reports were a blast. We were literally
traffic reports are a freaking hit, man. I got to talk to you. It went over. We had a blast on our 10 o'clock radio show last night. You guys got to join us, man. We have some good times. 10 o'clock every Friday. The Cam and Rick radio show, and we just have some fun. We shoot the shit, and
what's that What's that one character? Who's it? Carruthers?
Yeah, the Reverend Carruthers.
Oh my God!
Kathleen to tell you about the traffic report guys last night. Good job, man. Those are a freaking hit.
What's the lady's name again?
Jane Lakey or something like that. Jane Lackey.
Yeah.
Now he has no AC, Nancy.
No.
Geraldine, hello there.
I'm on prepaid electricity, Nancy. AC. I would run out of prepaid units faster than I can run if I had AC.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's got it hot there. So I mean, it doesn't matter to me, Cam. Bet you be on. I don't think anybody's gonna mind it if you wanted to pop in. So, I mean, it's not. It's.
Okay.
I don't see anything wrong with having that's all up to you, anyways. All right. So.
Yeah. What does it translate to in Fahrenheit?
30. Let's see. Okay.
It's like
32 Fahrenheit. No.
Like,
what's yours? Yours is Celsius, right?
Yes, it's now 36 degrees
90
C
degrees
with 67% humidity.
Yeah, it's 90 degrees at 10 o'clock at night for Cam right now. No AC. So he's gonna be shirtless. Well, it's no different than sitting at the beach, dude. You know, we are family. You know, hey Patty.
The light not too bright.
Yeah, bring it down just a little bit. Just a little bit, baby. We got a new light on Cam now.
Oh, okay. Wait, I have to change the.
Yeah, you just had it.
Okay, I'll go back to that
good
one.
right there. That's no back. Now you look jaundice. Go next one. Oh, there you go. Back. That's right. You can't go back, can you?
I got to cycle all the way through.
Patty says I'm blinded by that white chest.
Like that?
That's good. That's good.
A little bit down?
Yeah, just the brightness down just a hair.
Okay, it's on its lowest.
Alexa, turn on movie.
Okay.
Ooh, that's even better
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah, my Alexa doesn't want to work. I have a manual Alexa. You
Yeah.
guys can hear you guys can hear me okay?
You want me to tell him, or do you want to tell him?
No, you can tell them. Put up the picture there, you can tell them.
Oh, I don't have the. Oh, the one you just sent. Yeah, hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got
Santa
a few
came
surprises.
Santa came early for me this year.
My wife and I bought Cam. I sent him his donation money, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. And we sent him some money to be able to buy a gift. It was a gift from us, but we can't buy it and send it to him and all that. It's ridiculous, the whole deal with it. So I just give him the money and he gets it there when he needs it. So this is what we got him. He's got a brand new mic with a boom and a web light. Oh, good, don't faint. So you're going to hear Cam sounding a whole lot better. He can adjust his volume a whole lot easier, and hopefully we don't have any of those, me dropping out. So
No, it's okay for now.
yeah. So that's so he got it in yesterday or this morning, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was this morning.
This morning for you. Yeah. So now we'll just have to, we'll get the settings and everything set later, but we're good. You know what?
Yeah, just so you guys know, we did a kind of a test run the other day on Amazon because I was looking for wheelchair ramps, and Rick and I were just testing because I found one on Amazon, and I thought, okay, it's not too expensive, kind of, until I put it in my shopping cart. It worked out nearly 4 times the price.
Yeah.
So to send me anything on Amazon,
Yeah,
it's
it's possible. You could send things to them on Amazon,
but it's
but
just
when you
too
put in the
expensive.
shipping charges or the import fees and all that,
It works out to
it will-
4 times more expensive.
yeah, it's really freaking crazy. So, but anyway, so for the last week and a half, or we've been really, we've been not visible as much. We did have a couple of Zoom watches, but I came down pretty sick during Thanksgiving. And it just hit me all at once. I got some kind of stomach virus. I don't know what it was, but I don't understand how you can get a virus when I don't. It's only creatures I come in contact with my dogs, But anyway, and then Cam had they were having Wi-Fi issues or internet issues were that whole weekend. So I just said, let's just run it all through the whole holiday. And then
Yeah, because what happened, you guys, is we've been having serious torrential rains, like in Johannesburg, which is like 300 kilometers away from me. There's been floods there, and due to the flooding, it influenced the network, the internet setup here, and our Wi-Fi got knocked out for 3 days.
yeah. Now you're right. Yeah, I can't. Do you remember? If he did, well, Mr. Songman, I'm going to call you. I like that song too. That's a good song. But so Cam and I had planned that we were going to do a special feature for Inside the Studio this week, a project that we've been working on for almost a year, and just trying to figure out how to make it work because this was a different type of collaboration between him and I than what we normally do. So, anyways, what was it? Thursday, we sat down and we recorded it. We're using Zoom to record the process. So we went through it. We did the whole thing, got it all recorded, then I went to go start editing it later that night, and I loaded it into my editing software, and I'm sitting there playing, and all the sounds great, man. The volume, all of everything, the mixes are awesome. I sent a message to Cam. I said, "Dude, man, the sound is awesome." And so he sends me back, "Brilliant." About 30 minutes into it, well, I've got everything in there, and I'm just kind of doing a run through, watching the music, all that. I realized something. My camera wasn't on the screen. I was nowhere. You could hear me, but you couldn't see me. That whole thing, I forgot to do the settings on the cloud part for Zoom to save each individual thing separately, so that when I come back, I can edit it. I was so pissed. So we're gonna do a second one and act but have to act surprised. It'll be interesting. But it's a cool one. I've mentioned before. What we've done is we've taken American Trilogy, the three. We were going to do four, but the fourth version was just way too fast. It just wasn't coordinated well. So American Trilogy, we were going to do the Madison Square Gardens, where we did the Aloha from Hawaii and Elvis on tour, and we compared them with just the music, with just the vocals, and side by side, and then we picked what our favorite was, which I think we all know it's going to be pretty much the same with everybody. But it's really interesting to hear the differences in just a 7-month period of the song, or how they mixed it at the end, or what. But it really came out great volume wise, and it's really cool. You guys remember, if you watched my videos like I did with the Sunset Boulevard set, where I break down the songs and you can watch me compare them to the original, but through the software that I use, editing software. Well, that's what we did was American Trilogy. We backed out Elvis's voice on the live versions so that we could have him just singing or just the music, and then of course the whole thing. So it was cool. We're going to fun, but we'll redo it. We'll redo it so I could take it, put it in a folder, and load it up on the cloud, and not have to worry about those files anymore. Delete the ones I don't want. So, I guess we got some news this week. Let me take this out of there. Layers. Let me get that. About
Hey, throw the chats in there for me, will you? So I can follow the chats.
Oh, okay. I gotta. This was a separate thing. Hold on. How's that?
Yeah, that's cool.
Let me do this. Let me just add it in here, and let me take that.
Oh no, you guys thinking I've got a glow now? Wait until you guys know the big news that's coming. That we're gonna share with you.
Yeah. Tomorrow we're gonna have a nice little. Well, this is just a real quick scene that I just want to show these pictures. We're gonna go right back to the chat one. This is I just showed this to y'all, so that's that. I don't know if anybody heard the news about Tupelo Hardware in that building.
Yeah, that's damn sad.
It's really, it really is. Let me read this. It's with heavy heart that we would like to announce the closing of our historic downtown location, 114 West Main Street, to our loyal customers and dedicated team members. Throughout the years, we want to wish you a heartfelt thank you for 100 memorable years in downtown Tupelo. Our final day of daily business will be December 31st. Rest assured that this space and its historic place in the downtown community will be preserved and improved. If
Good.
you've not had the chance to visit our new location, McCullough Boulevard, we invite you to stop by.
That's cool. At least they're acknowledging the historic significance
Oh,
of the
absolutely.
building. Because that was my first thoughts. I didn't read further. I just read the first couple and I was like, hell no.
Yeah. Yeah. And then of course in bias, I didn't load up anything for this. I think everybody's seen it, but that Epic is actually going to be starting in February for the
Yes, 25th of February goes to theaters nationwide, worldwide.
So coming up. It's it's probably it's a little bit further than a lot of people wanted. At least they're going to get the premiere on Elvis's birthday, and I do believe those tickets go on sale any day now. Or
Any
not,
day now.
no, but for grab. I know that the first day is going to be open to, I guess, dignitaries or whatever. Then on the second day, I think it's December 8th, isn't it? I'll have to look at it. If everybody knows, pop it in here. Let me know. But if if anybody knows has got the information, or I can find it, I'll be more than happy to try to get in there myself. And as far as trying to get a couple of the seats for somebody that wants to go there, and all I got to do is just put it in somebody's name, because obviously I can't go, but I'm going to give it an effort to try to get a couple too, and then give them away to somebody who wants to off the line, or somebody that really wants to go.
I'll go.
12/8. Okay, thank you. That's 2 days. That's Monday. I believe the insiders and founders are December. Oh, that's right. And then the general public. So December 9th, Tuesday. I'll have to get the link, the number, any of that. I know Olga's going to try to get some, and maybe we could communicate through message as we're all trying to get him, to see who gets them first. I mean, as far as being able to just split them. Anyway, I'd like to try to grab a couple of them to be able to just share with you guys.
Oh, thanks, Patty, for correcting me. I was wrong. I said February 25th, but it's February 27th.
20th. Oh, okay.
Yeah. And that's going to be in IMAX. Can you imagine that?
Oh, you have to buy the birthday package to get the tickets. Okay, well, that leaves me out. What'd you say now, Cam? What was that?
Epic's going on February 20th. It's going to IMAX. Can you imagine watching that on IMAX? Oh, with that huge screen, the clarity, the sound, it's gonna be mind blowing.
That's and this time it's gonna, it's gonna bring in some new people, because now they're gonna say, well, that's real. That's the real guy. That's not Austin. That's not, it's gonna be interesting. Yeah, I hope the result, the response to Epic is epic.
Yeah.
I think you have to buy the birthday. Olga says when you purchase the birthday packages, you get the movie tickets. Well, we'll find out. I got a couple days to sort that out. Oh, Jesus, that's going to be cool. That's going to be a lot of fun. So on tomorrow's coffee date, I'm going to introduce a little
You rang.
Yeah, somebody's at my front door. And that's my, good. That's my package. I've been waiting for me. Mute my phone. All right. So in tomorrow's show, we're going to do, remember how we did the butt polls?
Mm-hmm.
Well, this isn't quite like this. This isn't going to be quite like this, but where is it? Same right here. Okay. Let me get that out of there. So what I'm going to do, what I want to do is do a poll on the best. He wore the coolest coats. He had the best coats, no matter what it was. I never saw an ugly freaking coat on it. Even I don't care if he wore a coat made out of a brontosaurus. He would look good in it,
Yeah, I always like that. I always like that picture.
Yeah. So what I've done is I've collected 6, and you guys can think about it if you're going to be there tomorrow, but I collected 6 different pictures of him in coats that I've always liked. I thought looked cool. That's the second one. That's the third one. That's when he's coming out, I think, the eye doctor right there.
Yeah, he's got the eye patch on.
Can you not say Mr. Cool any stronger?
Jeez.
Wow. That's like badass,
Hey, where's the photo with the colored jacket?
With the what?
With
Oh,
the colored, with the
we'll add more. What I was going to say is, if anybody's got ones that they want to send them in, and I'll add them to the list, and we could do this over a couple of weeks. Have a nice little get it down, and then we'll do a comparison of the butt. We'll do a comparison of the goats. I keep
okay. Well, you can do the butt comparison, but I don't know where I'm gonna be.
yeah, really. All right, so I thought that would be fun. Yeah, Mr. Yeah, he looked so freaking good in those things. Now, I've got a couple of. I got a video here picked out for today. It's called "Why Elvis," and it actually looks pretty interesting. I've never seen it, but I did upload it here. Oh, wait a minute. I got it up here, don't I? Oh, there we go. So this, while I was getting everything ready to show this video, I found a little shorter video, and it's from the BBC News when they're reporting on how it's a real quick 1 minute video, but it's some kind of report on how to impersonate Elvis Presley properly.
Oh, this is gonna be interesting.
It's gonna be interesting. So I don't know what date this is, but this is impersonating Elvis, how to do it right or something like that.
Just wanna be your teddy bear. You put a chain up around my neck and lead me anywhere. Let me be your teddy bear.
How tall are you?
5'8.5".
Never. We have to remember the and a half.
And a half, yeah.
Thank you very much.
I just thought it was kind of fun.
Oh my lord!
You have no comments, do you? All right, guys, this is called "Why Elvis." It's a lot of tunes.
Those strings sound like they're 75 years overdue.
This is the birthplace of Elvis Presley, located in Tupelo, Mississippi. Elvis's father, Vernon Presley, built it with $180, which he borrowed during the Depression and was unable to repay. So the Presleys lost the house when Elvis was 3 years old. And this is Graceland, as it looked when Elvis first bought it in 1957. It is only about 100 miles from Elvis's birthplace, but there is really no way to measure the distance he traveled to get here from such humble beginnings. Graceland was still in the country on the outskirts of Memphis when Elvis bought it, and it offered the seclusion that he needed from his fans, whose devotion could be overwhelming.
This is Graceland today. It isn't as quiet as it used to be. Old Highway 51 has become a congested 6-lane throughway called Elvis Presley Boulevard. Much of the traffic is headed here to Graceland, which has become a tourist attraction and a museum. For most, it is simply a curiosity, but for some, it is a shrine which is without equal in popular culture.
This guy is the only guy that I know of that has done more, really more for America than anything in America except the American flag. He's more recognized, and you can't fool even the people in the United States indefinitely.
The great thing about Elvis, which is some kind of like weird Zen riddle, Elvis would say the greatest thing and do the dumbest thing in the same 5 minutes in the movies or wherever on stage and not seem to know the difference. It just kind of was to Elvis. And it was just like, it's the American dream and in its full glory, run amok.
Almost every time you would see him on a regular basis, he would have his guitar with him. So we would have parties at one house or another, and he would be there, and he would play his guitar.
Looks like Lisa
But
Murray,
before
man.
he would play, all the lights had to be out in the room.
Just like her.
And he would sort of sit over in the corner, you know, by himself, get his head down, his guitar here. And everybody had to be involved with something else, you know, busy doing another activity. And it's as if we were not listening to him. And that made it all right.
It gives you all that strength. It gives you strength that you don't know where you got it from. You don't need to pop a pill. Just put on an Elvis record. My next door neighbor said,
That's so true.
With the psychiatrist
Yeah.
business.
A fan is more or less like when Jesus came, you know? When Jesus was here, he had disciples. Different name, same meaning. Jesus came and he served the people. He took care of the homeless. He clothed them. The Elvis fans, they clothe and they feed. When Elvis was here, he clothed and he feed, or he fed.
Anyone who idolizes Elvis and considers him a church are sickies. They have the brains of gnats. Their brains are smaller than a mustard seed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's quite small.
What was it about
Kiss my
Elvis
ass.
Who was he talking about?
Elvis fans.
Well, that's what I thought.
Presley? Why did he have such a huge impact on our music and our culture?
Yeah,
What
I'm
kind of
with
man
you,
could
Natalie.
capture the hearts and imaginations of
You
so
push
many
the-
people?
you
And
push
now,
the music.
years after his death, why does Elvis's influence continue to
there.
be so great? If you think about James Dean or Marilyn Monroe or John Lennon, it isn't quite the same. Dean and Monroe may rival Elvis as pop icons, as images for T-shirts and posters and things like that, but there's something different about Elvis. Every time you turn on the TV or pick up a newspaper,
Jello.
you see references to Elvis, and most of them don't even have anything to do with the real person. At the same time, the devotion of Elvis's fans is so great that some observers are even likening it to the beginning of a new religion. It's difficult to imagine that when, say, Frank Sinatra or Wayne Newton die, that there will be a candlelight vigil at their grave sites every year like there is for Elvis. In this program, we'll look at Elvis, the man, as remembered by people who knew him. We'll also talk to some of his fans, and we'll hear from writers, scholars, and other observers as we ask the question, why Elvis?
Those of us who live here have been very surprised to watch Memphis become a big tourist destination in the years since Elvis died. But people are coming now from all over the world, not just to visit Elvis's hometown, but because they're searching for an idealized version of the American dream that Elvis came to symbolize in the 1950s. Rock and roll was born in Memphis in the 50s, and what we're seeing is very similar to what was experienced in New Orleans in the years after World War II, as tourists from the jazz generation started to search for their roots.
Much of Elvis's early success came from being in the right place at the right time. Memphis was a melting pot of musical styles when Elvis was getting his start. As the big city at the northern tip of the Mississippi Delta, Memphis was the first destination for countless blues musicians who emerged from the plantations and small farming communities of the Delta. Musicians from the Delta had a knack for playing the raw blues that was so natural they seemed to be born with it. Musicians like B.B. King, Howlin' Wolf, and many others were drawn to world-famous Beale Street, where W.C. Handy had first written the blues form to sheet music in 1909. Beale Street was the cultural capital of Memphis's large black community. It was here that musicians polished their raw country blues into more urban sounds, adding horns and new arrangements that were influenced by jazz and rhythm and blues and all of the music that mingled on Beale Street every night until dawn. The Presleys lived a short distance from Beale Street, and Elvis's early visits there left an impression on him. Guitarist Calvin Newborn remembers how surprised he was when Elvis would come to see him in a Beale Street nightclub.
He asked me, could he play my guitar? You know, I should have known then, because, the club full of black people, and here comes a young white boy, barefooted. You know what I mean? Want to play my guitar. But I let him play it. And when he gave it back to me, it didn't have a string on it. So I don't know how he did it, how he tore all the strings out, but he did. So that should have told me something right there. The cat was determined.
Kids in Memphis in the 50s could also listen to all kinds of music on the radio that wasn't yet available in most other cities. There was WDIA, the first black radio station in the country, where B.B. King and Rufus Thomas were among the celebrated on-air personalities who were pioneering black radio while Elvis was a teenager. Louis Cantor, a former high school classmate of Elvis, worked behind the scenes as an engineer at WDIA, and he recalls talking with Elvis about listening to the station.
The feeling was among white teenagers at that time that all this other stuff was extremely boring. I mean, you turned on the radio and what you got was, how much is that doggy in the window? And you got Perry Como and stuff. And DIA was the only station in town that was playing anything for people that were reasonably hip. And of course, obviously, Elvis was reasonably hip. So people did listen to it. White teenagers listened to it and didn't admit it, or wouldn't tell their parents they listened to it. So Elvis listened quite frequently. I was on a shift that worked mostly gospel. And I said, are you hearing me on those gospel shows? He said, oh man, I like, it's that gospel music that I like.
And then there was Dewey Phillips with his Red Hot and Blue radio program on Memphis's WHBQ.
Right now, it's old Phillips playing Red Hot Blue coming through WHBQ in Hotel Tisca on the magazine floor. Maybelline floor. Oh, that's right, they changed the name. Maybelline floor right in good old Memphis, Tennessee.
Maybe the single most significant influence on Elvis in putting together his music was Dewey Phillips. And Elvis is having listened to Dewey Phillips most nights of his life from the time he was 14 when Dewey started broadcasting on WHBQ until the time Elvis started recording.
Coronic wrote a really good book on the
Dewey
Sun.
was an enormous
History of
star
Sun.
here when Elvis was just a little unheard of kid.
The disc jockeys were their own program directors. You could play anything you wanted. In other words, the stations went out and got the records, but you had access to whatever you wanted to play. You didn't play off of a playlist.
What he played was Rosetta Tharpe, Louis Jordan, Nat Cole, probably Bob Wills, Jimmy Reed, gospel records, records by white artists, records by black artists. Whatever you wanted to hear is what he played. And so this great amalgam of strong individual American music was absorbed by Elvis lying there as a little boy in the housing project.
No one is more responsible for giving Elvis his start than Sam Phillips, owner of Sun Records in Memphis, and surprisingly no relation to Dewey Phillips, though they worked together at promoting many of the same artists. From within the tiny two-room building that was Sun Records, Sam Phillips almost single-handedly produced a musical revolution. With his instinctive abilities to recognize talent and foster it in the recording studio, Phillips helped give birth to the careers of many legendary blues, country, and rock and roll stars, including B.B. King, Jerry Lee Lewis, Carl Perkins, Roy Orbison, Johnny Cash, Charlie Rich, and, of course, Elvis Presley. He says it all comes down to freedom, the freedom he gave his artists to express themselves. Other people in the record business would not have known what to do with an artist like Elvis, and it is very possible that without Sam Phillips, he would never have made his first record.
I had a feeling from the very beginning that he had unusual, real raw talent, and that's what I like. The rawer the better if you had the basics. I felt that if there was anybody that could do an amalgamation of rhythm and blues, or race music as they called it back in the 50s and 40s, and country music, and come out with something that was, well, it wasn't even named at the time. It wasn't named at that time. Alan Freed named it later on rock and roll.
Elvis had a unique style when he started performing, but not everyone understood it. He was even fired from one of his first jobs as a singer.
When I first met Elvis, I had a western swing band and was playing at a club called the Hi-Hat in Memphis. And I needed a pop singer, so I got asked around where I could find one, and we ran across Elvis. So Elvis came out, and he was doing an extraordinary good job. Well, these people that run the club were the club was called the Hi-Hat, and it was more of the elite of Memphis. And so Elvis dressed like Elvis, with the pink breeches and the rose oil run down the back of his neck, so to speak, and the black stripe going down his leg. And he didn't change for anyone. So he sang good, done a good job, but he didn't look good. He didn't fit that Hi-Hat club. So it broke my heart. She called me and told me, said, either you and the band go or you're going to get rid of Elvis.
Have you ever heard that story before?
No.
Yeah, I never heard of him going in and sitting in with another band.
No, I never have I heard him being fired as a singer.
That's interesting. I don't know what to think of that. Anybody, let me know if you've ever heard that story before.
Any journalist who comes to Memphis looking for Elvis stories can get an enthusiastic tour from Jimmy Denson, a childhood neighbor and friend of Elvis, whose brother, Jesse Lee Denson, taught Elvis his first chords on the guitar.
This is the Lauderdale Chords. This is 185 Winchester, where Elvis lived in apartment 328, where that lady in the window is standing now. That was the kitchen window of Gladys Presley for 5 years. The middle window is the bathroom window, and the next window is Vernon and Gladys's bedroom. The back bedroom was Vernon and Gladys.
One of Elvis's little-known early influences came from the laundry room directly below his apartment.
Yeah, you see, he didn't teach him his first chords. In
No.
Memphis, Elvis had the guitar. How old was he again? 10?
Yeah.
So for 8 years, he had a guitar and he never knew how to play a chord?
No.
Oh, come on, man. You know, where's these stories? Where do these people come from? I mean, I could be totally wrong, and somebody all of a sudden popped out from under his rock and said, "Hey, man, I did this." I gotta laugh at this stuff. Some of this stuff is just comical, you know. But yeah, Pastor Frank Smith taught him his first chords. More BS.
Mm-hmm.
Apartment where young Johnny Burnett, who later became famous with hits like "You're 16,"
Yeah, he
"You're
was
Beautiful,"
around
and "You're
Memphis
Mine," practiced with his brother Dorsey
I
Burnett and with Jesse.
I guess his mama taught him to drive too.
Yeah. Yeah.
For 5 years, they practiced in the welding
You're
shop,
right,
which
was
the laundry room at that time. Jesse Lee showed him how he could echo his voice from the laundry room stairs that came down from Elvis's apartment. A little narrow stairway is where Elvis sat and practiced all the time he lived here.
Journalists have been wary of conveying most of Denson's other information because his point of view is so unique.
Elvis was 10 times introverted. He was the shyest child in the world I've ever known. And for 7 years, he walked with his eyes on the ground. And the first time I laid eyes on him, he was holding his mama's hand, walking like this, sticking his feet in the ground. And he wouldn't raise his head.
I gotta go back a second here. I gotta hear this guy again. Are you kidding me?
Showed him how he could echo his voice from the laundry room stairs that came down from Elvis's apartment. A little narrow stairway is where Elvis sat and practiced all the time he lived here.
Journalists have been wary of conveying most of Denson's other information because his point of view is so unique.
Elvis was 10 times introverted. He was the shyest child in the world I've ever known. And for 7 years, he walked with his eyes on the ground. And the first time I laid eyes on him, he was...
That's what I thought he said.
Yeah.
Holding his mama's hand, walking like this, sticking his feet in the ground. and he wouldn't raise his head up. Mrs. Presley was born.
Okay, now, wait a second. This guy's in Memphis, right? Elvis was how old when he went to Memphis? 13, 14?
Yeah, 13.
He's walking, holding his mom's hand, walking like a little infant with a diapers on him or something. Oh my God! Hey, Lily. Unique. Unique. My God.
Unique, more like PS.
With the
I don't buy one word what this guy's saying.
No.
He obviously works for the post office, so that's one sign right there.
She said she had an obsessive, possessive, compulsive disorder that is caused by a chemical imbalance in her brain, which caused her to fear that some harm was going to happen to Elvis. And she walked him until he got out of high school when he was 18 and a half years old. And yes, harm did come to Elvis, because when he was 19 and a half, he became a drug addict. In July 1954.
This is okay.
He became a drug addict in 1954. That's the first.
What's comic was, yeah. At 19 and a half, he became a drug addict. This guy's quite humorous. I'm not even going to take this as being offensive. I'm just going to take it as just downright ridiculous.
And I thought Joe Esposito was the king of PS.
Yeah, yeah. And what's interesting, I mean, what does this guy do for a living? Wash U.S. post office trucks.
Here's the man that put him on drugs, Dewey Phillips. And my brother Jesse Lee caught Dewey slipping Elvis drugs in the alley bar right off of Main Street where he hung out. The drugs he took when Dewey Phillips gave them to him allowed him to raise his head up off of the sidewalk in the dirt.
Oh, come on.
Heard him on the second record if he hadn't taken drugs.
Whether Denson is right or wrong, the Elvis and others are also remembered as a shy child, transformed into a bold and energetic performer. But it's hard to believe that drugs alone could have been responsible for the dynamic stage presence.
Okay, I'm getting to the point where I'm just about ready to just.
Elvis had an inkling because it was something magic going on. It was something that a charisma that nobody had never seen. It was a split between something. And I don't completely go along with this stuff about split between rhythm and blues and all that, because it didn't make any difference. Elvis sung Old Chef, which was an old Red Foley song, which is country as you can get. And they done the same identical thing.
They rushed the stage with their little brownie box cameras and snapping pictures and squealing and screaming and just, there wasn't no dancing. They just get out there and shout and holler and carry on until the blood left their head, I guess, and they fell down on the floor, and they pick them up and towed them out of there. I never saw nothing like it in my life.
I remember this guy stepping out on stage in this pink suit, kind of long, slick black hair, jumping all over the place and just playing rhythm guitar, and this guy slapping the bass. And I just said, yeah, I want to be like him.
Elvis's first drummer, DJ Montana, and his first guitar player, Scotty Moore, both remember how unpredictable Elvis could be on stage.
Well, we actually never knew what he was going to do. There's no set pattern for what he's going to do. You couldn't figure out from 1 minute to the next. That's why we had to watch him so close on stage. You had to watch his arms, you had to watch his foot, his legs, his hands. We knew where he was. And if the crowd was overbearing where we couldn't hear, every movement meant something. And we knew exactly where he was.
I did an interview with Look magazine or something. It was a fairly notable reporter. I told him, I said, well, we was the only band that I ever knew of was literally directed by an ass. I thought the guy was going to die. But it's the truth.
I tell people maybe that's why I got the job. I used to play like strip shows down in Louisiana. And I used to watch him bounce around the stage, and every time he threw a leg up, finger up, summer crash noise, tom-toms, and he'd like for you to underscore his movements. So I try to catch everything he did. But it's more fun that way. It's more actually fun. I think the guys now, they don't have any fun. That's no fun. Anybody can get on stage and read the charts, and so what do you got, you know?
Remembering history can depend a lot on who you ask. For example, we have more than one explanation of why Elvis wiggled the way he did on stage. All are distinctly different, and yet there is truth in each.
When he did have to get up on stage, he was absolutely terrified out of his mind, and he would just tremble, just shake all over. And of course, later on, that was desirable because I think his manager began to see then that that was getting a response from the audience. And so then he did begin to incorporate that as part of his act, but it was as natural as anything.
You see him as he was when he was an excited young man, wild type of action.
Oh, we just saw all this.
Uncontrollable almost, you know? Because what happened, he had been in what you call a Holy Roller Church.
Yeah.
That's all he had seen.
And how his shaking really started, he just, instead of like most singer guitar players, country especially, stand on stage, they would just stand there and pat your foot maybe, or didn't pat your foot, and he more or less would kind of stand on the balls of his feet, and the shaking his leg was actually his way of keeping time.
Or I guess some of them would say sexually orientated type of movements that he was doing and stuff. He wasn't doing nothing but just what people been doing down here in the South all along. In other words, a lot of them just walk kind of funny. And it might be sexually to some people, but that's the way they do it. And Elvis found out that the more you gyrated around and all that kind of stuff, it just like pouring gasoline on a fire.
They used to call me Legs because when I played my guitar, I would put my guitar on the side and keep time with my legs. And sometimes I would put it between my legs, like I was making love to the guitar. Then Elvis used to come to the Flamingo room and
love that guitar.
And that particular night that he broke all of the strings off my guitar, I could see that he was imitating me playing the guitar. But he was actually wrecking my guitar.
What about cleaning it up or at least improving it morally and maybe taking the wiggle out of it?
Well, sir, you take the wiggle out of it, it's finished.
If timing is to be blamed, then Elvis was right on time for a sexual revolution. Hugh Hefner had just started Playboy magazine the year before Elvis first recorded, and Marilyn Monroe was liberating the libidos of the male population, but no one had quite done as much for the young females until Elvis, whose name rhymed with Elvis, presented a clear and present danger.
Elvis went on TV in 1956 and literally wiped out 2,000 years of Judeo-Christian uptightness about sex. The whole fig leaf thing was pretty much blown out the window by Elvis on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Elvis arrived just in time for early television. His strong visual presence made him a natural for the new TV audience.
There's a line of poetry by Lawrence Robb.
I'm not for sure. I'll have to take a check.
And he talks about culture, and the poem has the line, "You shall know the prince by his looks." And when Elvis Presley came along, people knew what it was that Bill Haley was all about, what it was that Fats Domino, for that matter, was all about. People black and white, that it had something to do with the burst of a new musical feeling. But none of them were the prince. None of them were the king. And here is someone who looks like Apollo and acts like Dionysus. Those are two archetypal opposites right there. And when the king appears, you should know what he looks like, too. Suddenly, people were...
This was filmed in 1994, just to let you know.
Jeez.
I think somebody just took it to throw some in some of these funky people with these. They deliberately put these guys with the dumbass stories in there, just as they had to. I mean, nobody could be.
The best one was, the best one was Elvis was a drug addict, and that's why he walked with his head. That's why he lifted his head. And the second one was Gladys had a mental condition. That's why she was so protective over Elvis.
The one where Elvis's ass was always on the floor.
Aware that someone had come and gathered up all these forces.
Yeah, now he started a sexual revolution.
He was the right being to do that. Could rock and roll, could the social changes of the 50s and 60s occurred with someone else? That's an interesting question, but no one else looked the part.
Elvis Presley was not photogenic. He looked much better in person. Because I was expecting him to look like he did in Jailhouse Rock, which was great, right? But he looked better than that, a lot better than that. I'm like, what? This is a human being? Are you kidding me?
He started getting his hair cut about 12 years old. His mother used to bring him in the shop. He was crazy about his mother. She would hold him by the hand, and she would bring him in the shop. She had a real nice, dreamy eyes, and that's where he got his dreamy eyes from his mama. During that time, he wore his hair long and styled. You know, he liked his hair styled kind of straight back and his long sideburns. And I started to cut his sideburns, but he told me I better not mess with his sideburns. So he kind of got a little peeved about that. After he got out the chair, he would groom his hair in the mirror, comb it a long time.
Wait a minute. Elvis Presley was not photogenic?
Comb it for about 45 minutes.
The thing about Elvis that appealed to me the most was he was just so cool. You know what I mean, cool? I remember back in the days when money wasn't important and power and prestige wasn't important.
I realized what you were saying.
Were you cool? Elvis was definitely a role model for everybody. If you wanted to be cool, you paid attention to Elvis.
Somehow or another, he's like some preachers you've seen in time, and that might not be a good word to use now, but he had that real ability to communicate to you, whether he was talking to you, just standing there making a few motions, or whether he was singing his heart out.
You know, someone once said to Elvis, he said, Elvis, you have such great charisma. It really comes through in person and from the stage and through your records.
Oh, that makes sense.
Your charisma is what really stands out the most. And Elvis responded to the man's compliment by saying, I appreciate it, but you know what charisma really is? Charisma is the light of God coming through a man.
There was some kind of an impulse between this guy and his audience that went beyond the enthusiastic response that so many artists get from their audience.
I just felt like that he was singing right to me. That was the impression that he gave me. And he just seemed to be begging somebody to love him.
People not only enjoyed his work as an artist, but they believed in him as an individual. And also, I think to know that he basically did not change a lot so far as his relations with people, just the ordinary person on the street, was something absolutely imperative to his unbelievable success.
The final significant thing about Elvis is his talent and the things he did with it. And no matter what else he did or did not do, he created some of the most interesting, heartfelt music of this century.
Presley, in my opinion...
I'm sorry, Nancy, I don't get your last comment. I must have missed a part. The only part I got right is he would go down to the laundry room. I'm lost on that one.
when he would practice his guitar playing.
Oh yeah.
The only guys I'm buying in the store is Sam, Scotty,
Yeah.
and DJ.
Everyone else is like, and you know what? The funny thing is, you see some of these people were schoolmates of him when he went to school, but if they were, by the way they looked in 1994, what would they have been? 1994, they would have been what, 50? I guess so.
Was a person probably with as much talent vocally that could be used with so many different types of songs as I've ever heard of in my life. He didn't follow any one path. He didn't just sing rock and roll and pull that rhythm and blues, country. He sang pop. And when you can do that and give it an unbelievable, creditable interpretation, there's something to be said for it. Very few of us could do it.
He could do a song Ray Charles had done, or a song Little Richard had done, and put something on it that was unique so that you didn't think about where you first heard it. You know, it wasn't a matter of taking a piece of material and bleaching it white and removing all nutrition the way Pat Boone did. He took a song like I Got a Woman, speeded it up, and beat it to death. Made it really more interesting than the Ray Charles version, you know?
That's an interesting way to
musical genius that makes Elvis worth remembering.
Elvis evolved through many phases of his career. Each period added new dimensions to his appeal as a...
This is almost like a video that they would present at a classroom. You know, almost like a documentary for, you know, how you used to go in school and they'd show videos of whatever the way it's presented and broke down. It's almost like a
homework assignment.
Yeah.
Performer and heightened his position as a celebrity without
equal. I mean, it's actually kind of entertaining just because you know that some of these things just aren't true, and it is kind of entertaining, irritating with a few remarks, but at least we haven't. I'm not even going to say it. I'll curse it.
Elvis goes into the Army, but not as an entertainer. He goes in as a regular Joe. Well, all of a sudden, he's not
irritatingly
salty,
entertaining.
You know, he's a real guy, and all of a sudden, he's acceptable to all the parents. He's already locked the kids in, and they're in, looks like, for the long haul. And he's not a rebellion. He's now a good American.
Now, this is what I used to carry in my purse of all kinds.
I was in school.
And when I'd open them up, everybody enjoyed looking at them.
88-year-old 𝐤𝐞𝐬𝐷 Stiers is the world's oldest Elvis fan club president. She explains how Elvis's fans were determined not to forget about him while he was away in the Army.
We knew every disc jockey by his first name, and we made sure that all of our members of our clubs called in and requested songs and wrote in and requested them and bought his records. And every time a new record would come out, we would go to the stores and buy every record that they had. And if they didn't have any, we'd order 25 apiece. One week, we'd be buying records. Maybe the next week, we'd go to every jukebox available and put a dime in for every record that was on that. We didn't stop to listen to them. We went on to the next jukebox and put a bunch of dimes in it. We spent $5 a piece near about every other week playing records.
Elvis, do you think the music has changed since you've been out in the service? I mean, since you've been in the service?
I like that.
Possibly, yes. I can't say, really. I haven't been here long enough to even know. Excuse me. The only thing I can say is that if it has changed, well, I would be foolish not to try to change with it, you know. But as of now, I have no reason to change anything.
As to your acting, you have stated you would like to be a more serious actor. And do you plan to possibly go to some school or some dramatic school?
Well, it wouldn't hurt me any to go to school, but I learned best by experience. I never was very good in schools of any kind. And it's going to take me a long time and a lot of experience.
But that is your ultimate ambition?
But at the present time, it really is.
And he comes out of the Army, and the 4 best movies he made were the ones before he went in. And he comes out of the Army, and his mother's passed on, and all of a sudden, the Colonel's got him doing cheesier, very G-rated middle America movies. And he just made that step by taking those 2 years in the Army, not performing, and just leaking out tapes they had done, and it was just a brilliant maneuver.
Before Colonel Tom Parker became Elvis's manager, he had managed the careers of country stars like Eddie Arnold and Hank Snow. Recognizing a huge opportunity with Elvis, Parker convinced the Presley family to allow him to manage Elvis in return for an almost unheard-of 50% cut of his earnings. He still receives a lot of the credit and the blame for Elvis's successes and failures.
And whether the Colonel was brilliant or lucky, he seemed to have the right timing, and as sleazy as the Colonel was, and how, as far as creating good quality art in the way of music or films, he didn't care the least bit about. And from that point of view, from an Elvis fan, he made a whole lot of bad decisions. But from a strictly business point of view, he seemed to be brilliant.
I think the tragedy of Elvis was that he, in fact, was a great talent. I think he had an innate gift as a musician and a dancer. And were he to have fallen into the hands of producers and people like, say, the Beatles and Michael Jackson worked with, we can only imagine what his music might have evolved into. But he was really made into a carnival and treated like a freak and sold into pictures basically for top dollar rather than for what they could do to his ability and his skill as a performer. And I think it, in some ways, may have broken his heart.
And every one of his movies...
That's a fairly good overview.
The other thing that I realized while listening to him talk in 1960 is that he never ever, whenever he did interviews, no matter how stupid the question was, even if they were like really doggone stupid questions, he never gave the impression like, oh my God, what a dumb question. He still answered it anyway.
Yeah.
But when they were really stupid questions, he always came back with that sharp ass wit.
Yeah.
Almost as though he was telling them, like, really, come on. You want to ask me something with substance.
Yeah.
But yet he was never disrespectful or rude or flat out, what a dumbass question. I'm not going to answer. The only question he ever said he wasn't going to answer was when that lady asked him about his political views at the garden.
And how he was very respectful in that answer too,
Yeah.
You think about something. How many times have you heard the stories of all these people that have gone into the business of being an actor, a singer, or whatever, because they want to be, and then the popularity comes with it. That's just part of the whole thing. So that has to be part of the desire of why you're going into that career. But you hear these stories where they punch a fan, or they push a fan, or they knock a photographer down, or they scream and yell at somebody. I mean, you can name them all, but Sean Penn, Alec Baldwin, a bunch of them.
Yeah.
You never, out of Elvis's entire career, did like you just said. He never once showed disrespect to any fan, any reporter, anybody he worked with ever.
Mm-hmm. And that says a lot.
Yeah.
Made money, and so I guess the producers and all felt, well, why change, because they're all successful movies. And back then, Elvis was the very first actor to ever receive $1 million guaranteed up front, plus 50% of all box office. So with him receiving that kind of money, and with 50% of the box office, it was also a stipulation in the contract that he had no say-so over the script. But I know he did always want to do more serious movies. As a matter of fact, that's why he quit making movies and wanted to get back in live performances in front of the audiences, because that was his true love. His fans performing live was his true love.
I didn't recognize that.
And this was the Colonel would have screwed up the comeback really bad. They had a big fight, and the producer and Elvis, the only time probably the Colonel was ever told no, and he did a real rockin' comeback special. Boom, all of a sudden he's back, no longer this cheesy movie star, he's really rocking.
During Elvis's career as an actor, he had disappeared from the concert stage for a decade, and his records were mostly made to support his long string of movies. In January of 1969, barely a month after his successful TV comeback special, he went in the studio for a monumental 3-week recording session that produced classics such as Suspicious Minds and In the Ghetto. Peter GeRoLnick remembers writing a review for the record in Rolling Stone magazine.
What thrilled me about writing the review, aside from just...
He still had a receding hairline back then.
Was to be able to talk about Elvis in serious terms.
Not as bad as mine.
For an audience that was interested in music, because it had been so long. I always felt like I was just off in the wilderness somewhere.
Hello there.
I know there were other people, but you didn't run into them very often. And when you mentioned Elvis Presley, it was almost as if, you like Elvis Presley. It's just, it was like a joke. And here was a record which was so strong and so real that it brought him right back into the fore, but in a different way. And I just felt like, from my point of view, it was one of the most amazing rediscoveries by an artist of his talent.
Elvis returned to the concerts.
Now, I like the way he said that, a rediscovery of it.
Yeah.
Instead of, I don't like the comeback.
No.
I don't, and that's why I try my best never to even use that terminology. I always, when I refer to the TV special, I refer to it as the NBC and Singer Presents Elvis, or however they had it, And it's just like, it's, but that way, what he just said, that's kind of a good analysis, a rediscovery of his, what he wanted to do.
And it was exactly that, because when we go back and we listen to those American Sound sessions, that's what you hear.
That's a good one, Sally. Go ahead, Cam. I'm sorry.
No, I was saying, when you go back to the American Sound sessions, you can hear that he knows he's got something more in the can, and he's letting it out to see where it takes him. And
yeah, if you guys haven't had the chance to go back and check out, we went through the whole American Sound songs on session takes, all of the songs, and we did an average of maybe 3 a week, and we got through them, and you sit there and you hear what that's really taught me, especially with those sessions, is the growth of a song, the creation, the birth of, from the beginning to the end. And a lot of times I find that I like the middle parts or even the beginning better than I did the end. But it's just amazing to hear him in the studio laughing and enjoying himself, because he knew he was recording some pretty cool shit.
Now that I think of it, I can't really think of one of those episodes we did where there was really a flat out no. That was really a shitty song.
Yeah. What, that we said or they said?
No, that we said.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll think about it. I can't remember what it was. The song, man. I agree, Rick. I love listening to him build us. It's just amazing. That whole thing. Go ahead, Kim.
Oh, sorry. He's in my mind the most underrated producer ever.
Yeah. They did start putting his name on there as part of it as an executive producer, but that's just a little star put on people. Just, you don't appreciate it till you listen to these sessions. So, and we have a lot of people that watch our inside the studio, and they say the same. They say good Lord, they say the same thing as we do. The growth of it's just it's amazing to listen to. All right.
Stage with a renewed dedication in the 1970s. Backed by a full orchestra with an elaborate stage show, the King of Rock and Roll had returned in all his glory and began to achieve the mythical proportions of a superhero as a new Elvis persona emerged. Now dressed in capes and sequin jumpsuits and singing an expanded repertoire that even included patriotic anthems, Elvis toured almost constantly for the rest of his life.
Elvis's favorite thing, if you had to narrow it down to one thing in the world of show business, was performing in front of a live audience. Elvis lived for a live audience. He just loved every minute on that stage. And the funny part about Elvis was the older he got as a singer, the better he got. And part of that was that he studied his craft. He sang every day. He worked at it. It wasn't something, he was given that God-given voice, yes. But every day at Graceland, I don't think a day went by that he didn't sing for at least 30 minutes or an hour. He worked at it like an opera singer would.
And then he becomes this Vegas weirdness that somehow, you know, it was the part that I think needed to happen to solidify the myth, because now all you have to do is put a guy in a jumpsuit and he's an Elvis impersonator. Without that jumpsuit phase, I'm not sure we'd have the visible icon of Elvis. I'm not sure, you know, that the hair and the sideburns alone. You know, the myth needed the jumpsuit. And what would have happened if he had stayed alive? And would the myth still have grown?
No sound.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Well, it was somewhere right after Aloha when he quit wearing the capes, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think it was about 74.
Yeah, I know Geraldine asked the question. I know he didn't have a cape I don't remember him having a cape when I saw him at the Forum in 74. He had a cape in 72 when I saw him, and of course in 76 he didn't have a cape. I don't know. I don't know if Dylan's still in the house, but he would know for sure.
I think 74.
As time passes by, it becomes more and more difficult to separate the truth about Elvis from the rumors and the legends, both positive and negative. We interviewed many people who actually knew him, and it's interesting to note that everyone had mostly kind things to say. One thing that we'd like to show you are some stories of his legendary generosity, which must be one of the reasons why Elvis continues to be so popular, not just as a performer, but as a person.
Elvis gave away a lot of money people don't know about. He would pick up the paper and read maybe where their house had burned, or they had a sick child that needed money. There was money Elvis sent that was anonymous that nobody knew about.
You know, it was almost like he said, was saying, I've got to make this so I can give it to somebody that needs it more than I do.
And, you know, he would get mad if you didn't take it, though. It would hurt his feelings.
Oh, my.
He wanted to make you happy. If he made you happy, it made
I only realized now who that is.
I know. Earlier I did the same thing until they popped his name out. I go, didn't even look like him. It looks like... Well, I'm not even going to say, because I would say the wrong thing and offend somebody, but he just doesn't look like Richard Davis.
No.
But the one thing I am liking about this video, and there's nothing fantastic about this thing, but there's some humorous spots that we all know are hilarious, and even the guy made the remark at the beginning that they didn't know how much of this guy's story he wants to put in here, but it was just, I think what it was is whoever put this together wanted to show the insanity of some people out there about this, and how really the stories that people come up with, because I grew up with Elvis and all that, and stupid stuff like that. But then what's cool is they've got it sprinkled with a lot of people that have truth to their stories and were there and could give you facts. And like Becky Yancey, that she just I've got her book. She's got a great book. She was the secretary, and then here you got it's cool. I like that. It's a good point.
him happy. And that was one of his ways of existence. He had all this money and everything, nothing to do with it except spend it. He said, I can't take it with me.
It was a private thing with him. He only gave to his friends. In other words, he didn't have an audience. He would call a person in and just give him the keys to a new car. No fanfare, no nothing, and tell him the car was out in the driveway. He didn't have an audience. He would talk to the person or the person's wife. He was kind of sharp like that.
He was going to the Pontiac place one day, and just as he got to the door, a little black girl, a young black girl, was coming out of the door of the Pontiac place, and she was crying. And he grabbed her arm and he said, "Hey, honey, what's wrong with you?" And she said, "Well, I want a car and they won't sell it to me." And he said, "Why not?" He said, "What do you want a car for?" And she said, "Well, she had to have a car to go to school, and she needed a car to get to work, and she was looking for a job." So he took her back in the Pontiac place and asked which car she had wanted, and he bought her the car. And he said, "Now you be at Graceland at 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. You have a job there."
Shame.
So Maggie's job was to go to Graceland every day at 4 o'clock and sit at the kitchen table and do her homework. She was enrolled at Memphis State to do her homework, answer the telephone, and then Maggie brought his tray to him at night. And he wanted to see her grades every quarter. He paid for her schooling. He paid for her car. He paid for her everything. He paid her a salary to sit there and answer the telephone so she would have a job that she could go and study.
Another thing which contributes to the growing legend surrounding Elvis is the sad way in which his life ended.
Who is that with dark hair?
I talked to more than one fan from the legions who gather in Memphis every year who said they never came to Graceland until after Elvis died. There's something about the shared experience of mourning that holds an attraction for many people, and it is rooted in a genuine tragedy.
Yeah, I don't know who.
I really think of him as a very nice person, and the Elvis that came on later, it's really almost incompatible with the way he began. You just don't think of it as the same person.
Everybody tries to take the last 2 years of his life, and they try to make a big deal over all this, that he took too many prescription medicines. They like to say drugs, but it was prescription medicine.
Thank you.
Which a lot of people have taken, they have overtaken those. But they don't take all the years of his life.
I don't think Elvis's health started really deteriorating until around 73, maybe 74. Elvis, what people don't realize was that Elvis was a very sick man. He had a lot of things physically wrong with him that he was seeing doctors for, and he was having to take so many different kind of prescribed medications now for these different things that were wrong with him.
Number one, we don't know why he was taking too much. Maybe he had a lot of pain that nobody knows about. And then two, you don't tell anybody. I'm sure people tried to help him, but you don't tell anybody. People have got to help themselves. You can't. I think people around him really cared about him, and I think who can say he handled it? I don't know of a lot of people that probably, could have handled it any better.
Regardless of who was in his life, no one was able to get him to stop doing some of the things that he was doing that were destructive to him. It was almost like he was on a self-destructive trip that it became unbearable to handle the fame, the appetite for strokes that he had. And one questions how much of these strokes, how much of the attention he got, he could actually absorb. Because usually we find when people have severe weight problems, they usually have difficulty in taking in strokes. And eating is a sort of stroking yourself. And developing the body armor or the fat is a way of warding off some real connection to people.
This guy going on.
Oh, come on, really?
Here he is on the stage, connecting with people, projecting his message very clearly. So he's a very complicated individual, and to attempt to diagnose him or put labels on him certainly would not be fair.
But I asked him, I said,
Okay, I'm going to say this. That guy's a doctor, right? Supposedly, but not once does he mention that majority of the ailments that Elvis had, the medication they would prescribe in those days was cortisone.
Yeah.
Not once did that idiot sit there and refer to the medical issues that Elvis had. Richard Davis was one of the only people that did. He's sitting there trying to sell the deal that Elvis couldn't handle the fame and that's why he was taking the. Come on, really? Get out of here.
Yeah, I sprinkle this with some really some twits. Let's put it that way.
well, do you ever get tired of this life? You know. He said, yeah. Sometimes, he said, if I knew that my bills would be paid for, and I didn't know anybody, I'd give it all up so I could go fishing with you, with my friends. I could go out and play ball and not be mobbed. I could go out in the daytime instead of night. I could be a day person.
Really?
I could, I could do things like a normal person.
They make him out to be such a weak ass.
He said, yeah, really, I can't.
Yeah, the people, they always want to lead, or somehow a discussion always goes into a recluse scenario.
Yes.
And he wasn't a recluse.
No. There's hundreds of pictures where he would go around Memphis riding motorbikes or riding the converted snowmobiles. There's film footage on YouTube where he was going to the shopping malls with Linda and Lisa. There was film footage where he's going to other places with other people, but he's a recluse and he hates his life. I'm not disputing that it was hard at times. But he by no means hated it. He was by no means was a recluse. He was by no means a weak individual. And these people are sketching it in such a way that he went from this meteoric, almost godlike person to a weak ass worm that couldn't do anything for himself but wither away and really?
Yeah.
I have
to live it.
Yeah, who was that one question? There was one question somebody asked him, and I think it was right after the opening night in Vegas in '69. Someone asked a reporter asked her, "Is there anybody else you would rather be?" And Elvis turned and said, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah,
something along that line, And that doesn't. I don't think that feeling. You're right. There was a comment here. Elvis loved being Elvis.
Yeah.
But he also, take out the picture of the illness, and I think everything had been fine.
Yeah. And let's be honest. Some of the ailments that Elvis had, they didn't even know of back in those days. And some of the ailments he had he not been taking medication to manage them, he probably would have died sooner.
Yeah.
But nobody mentions that. He became a recluse that sat up in his room and gorged on food all day because he hated his job and he hated his life. Oh, come on, bullshit. Get out of here.
Listen, everybody, not on the same scale, but, it's as if everybody thinks that he's the only person that's ever done that. This pervades society where the people will go through periods of depression. Not everybody.
Yeah.
But,
Sure.
I don't know. Anyway, there's some really stupid twits in this thing.
He said, it's my lifestyle. He said, I'm a star, and that's...
Who's this fucking idiot?
I don't know.
I can't be normal.
When Elvis died, he left 4 bank accounts. 3 were savings accounts with very low balances, and the other was a non-interest-bearing checking account with a little over $1 million in it. He didn't care as much about piling up money or saving it as he enjoyed spending it and giving it away. And he'd always been able to go out and make more if he wanted to. He had very few investments, and his estate was estimated to be worth about $5 million, which isn't a lot considering that he'd made at least that much every year for many years. But now the Presley estate grosses close to $50 million every year, and his daughter Lisa Marie's net worth may exceed $100 million by the time she gains control at the age of 30. But the managers of the Presley estate are riding a wave that they did not create. Elvis's continued popularity transcends promotional hype and has a life of its own. The growing interest is reflected in the rising price of Elvis collectibles. Any Elvis signature is said to bring at least $800, and one of his guitars sold recently for over $250,000. But it isn't just about money. I know someone who has some of Elvis's underwear. I heard of a comedian who has his toe tag from the morgue. This isn't anything new. It's just surprising that this kind of interest is still so great so many years after Elvis died.
And we would send a specimen to the lab and it would never get there because it had his name on it. And they, you know, even turning his name around and putting him in under an assumed name, people knew it. And they just wanted anything that they could get. I know when he went home one time, I took all the foil off the windows and rolled it up and threw it down the incinerator. And a couple of the employees came up and said, "Why didn't you give us that foil?" And I said, "What do you want with a bunch of old used foil for?" And they said, "Well, that was in Elvis's room." And I said, "Well, golly, it was just foil, you know," but it meant a lot to them.
He is still alive. He's alive in our hearts. He always will be.
Surveys continue to show that a small percentage of Americans believe that Elvis is still alive. The weekly tabloids tell readers this and many other wild and illogical things. Some people might believe what they read in the tabloid press, but, you know, some people...
How's that for a receding hairline?
Some people don't know when to get off the bus unless the bus driver tells them to. I have talked to many devoted Elvis fans, and I have not met one who really believes Elvis is still alive. In fact, when Elvis's cook, Mary Jenkins, spoke to Elvis fans at an Elvis Week symposium, she pleaded that the media should stop talking about him being alive, and the fans cheered.
Now, I wish that was true. I don't really anybody wish he was alive. I wish he was. But he's not. He's dead, and they should let him rest. That's right.
Maybe.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Who was that, Nancy?
No, it was Mary Jenkins. He used to call her Maybe.
About the sightings of Elvis lookalikes, but this is mostly due to Elvis's unique style and his lasting impact on the.
That looks like a combination of Slash and I don't know who
Elvis
else.
Was, to my knowledge, the first masculine celebrity entertainer figure who possessed a physical quality hitherto associated with women. I mean, he was like a hoochie-coochie dancer, you know. I mean, people like Clark Gable and Gary Cooper, very attractive, you know, great masculinity. Elvis didn't have exactly masculinity. He had physical appeal. I mean,
what bullshit is this guy talking?
Let's watch the comments now.
Elvis didn't have masculinity. Yeah. Good God, go and watch the NBC special and tell me that's not masculinity. Tell me that's not a guy that knows he has every single woman alive, dead, and yet to be born at his fingertips in that special. Tell me he exudes feminine. Fuck off. I hate it when people slam him and make him sound like this pathetic excuse of for a lack of better explanation. I hate it when they make him sound like a fucking fairy.
Look at the comments coming in now. What the? Rewind, please. Missed that. Okay, there was this dude, right? Which one was it? I'll go back to Marion, I guess.
Yeah, Tracy's right.
And it would never get there.
And there's nothing wrong with that. He knew it, and he was classy about it. He was respectful about it. He was never ever in your face, dirty and rude. And he knew what he could do and he used it to his advantage, and he did it very well, very tactfully, very classily. And what the hell's wrong with being aware of who you are as a person? There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that.
I don't ever remember having someone put in the comments, please rewind that a little bit. All right, I'm going to put it back to Marion here, and we'll get that part.
Because it had his name on it. And they, you know, even turning his name around and putting him in under an assumed name, people knew it. And they just wanted anything that they could get. I know when he went home one time, I took all the foil off the windows and rolled it up and threw it down the incinerator. And a couple of the employees came up and said, why didn't you give us that foil? And I said, what do you want with a bunch of old used foil for? And they said, well, that was in Elvis's room. And I said, well, golly, it was just foil, you know, but it meant a lot to them.
He is still alive. He's alive in our hearts. He always will be.
Love the hairdo.
Yeah.
Surveys continue to show
Somebody snipped off one of the pigtails, though.
that a small percentage of Americans believe that Elvis is still alive. The weekly tabloids tell readers this and many other wild and illogical things. Some people might believe what they read in the tabloid press, but, you know, some people still think the world is flat, and some people don't know when to get off the bus unless the bus driver tells them to. I have talked to many devoted Elvis fans, and I have not met one who really believes Elvis is still alive.
Is Larry Geller her hairdresser?
In fact, when Elvis's cook, Mary Jenkins, spoke to Elvis fans at an Elvis Week symposium, she pleaded that the media should stop talking about him being alive, and the fans cheered.
Now, I wish that was true. I don't think anybody wish he was alive. I wish he was. But he's not. He's dead. They should let him rest. That's right.
Of course, we will probably continue to hear about the sightings of Elvis lookalikes, but this is mostly due to Elvis's unique style and his lasting impact on the fashion world.
Elvis was, to my knowledge, the first masculine celebrity, entertainer figure who possessed a physical quality hitherto associated with women. I mean, he was like a hoochie-coochie dancer, you know. I mean, people like Clark Gable and Gary Cooper, very attractive, you know, great masculinity. Elvis didn't have exactly masculinity. He had physical appeal. I mean, in a way that was traditionally associated with women. What I'm saying is that I think it's unlikely that we would have had a Mick Jagger or a Prince or maybe a David Bowie or a Boy George in quite the same way without the precedent of Elvis.
I feel that Elvis his success actually broke the ice of civil rights because that was the issue during that time. And the fact that he sent the black idiom all over the world in his music.
For me, Elvis is symbol of freedom. And you know, for young people in former Soviet Union, Elvis is symbol of freedom, of course.
I had no clue what that woman just said.
She said for people in places like Russia, Elvis was a symbol of freedom.
Yeah, I've read that. I couldn't understand her for some reason.
Yeah, because her Russian accent is very heavy. I had to sort of concentrate too. But she said basically in those kind of countries in the Soviet Union at that time, Elvis personified freedom for them.
Yeah, I read something somewhere or heard a comment from somebody made that statement. They said that in countries like Russia or places that, you know, were communistic or whatever, that when their thought of Elvis or Coca-Cola, they always thought of it being of freedom.
Yes, I mean, I do to a certain extent because everybody knows, well, everyone that's here kind of knows the conditions that we live under in South Africa, and they're not terrible by Russian standards at all, but they're not easy circumstances at all, and at times they can be very oppressive. And even to me, at times, when the political situation is hard and general life is hard, and I feel I need to break out and go to a new world, that's where I go to. Elvis is there. So in a way, he represents freedom to me too.
Is from Boris Yeltsin's hometown of Sverdlovsk, and she says Yeltsin helped her start the Soviet Union's first private medical practice there.
And I know that Boris Yeltsin always loved Elvis because we talk about Elvis.
This leads us to a story that may seem unbelievable. On the historic day in 1991, after Boris Yeltsin made his defiant speech against the attempted military coup in Russia, he then went inside and called Prime Minister John Major in England and said something like, "I have made my stand, but I don't know how long it will last." Yeltsin then locked himself in a room and listened to Elvis Presley's record, "Are You Lonesome Tonight?"
Wow.
How about Elvis fans for Clinton Gore?
It seems just about as unbelievable that Elvis became a vague symbolic issue to be tossed around by both major American presidential candidates in the 1992 election.
Mr. Bush, at his great speech at the Republican convention, said that my economic program reminded him of Elvis economics. Well, the difference in Elvis and Bush's plan for the economy is that Elvis has been cited in several places in America.
My whole fascination with Elvis, when I wrote Elvis is Everywhere, literally I mean, not to be metaphysical about it, but I was just a conduit for a bunch of Elvis vibrations that were happening at the time. In the song, Elvis is Everywhere, I was doing this Chuck Berry song, Tulane, and at the end of the song I'd go, and one night I was doing that, and I literally said everything that ever in the song. I said half the song on stage. It just poured out of me, just boom.
Okay, what was he trying to say that by?
Well, he had a hit song called "Elvis is Everywhere."
Okay.
And I guess he was just talking about the influence towards it, what kind of gave him the influence for the song, and how much of an impact Elvis had on him.
You know what I see? I see a little bit of
It is
Elvis.
right here.
Each and every one of you out there. Let me tell you,
Lovely dot.
Elvis is everywhere, man. He's in everything. He's in everybody. Elvis is in your jeans.
Elvis started
Hey,
showing
couple
up in my
butt shots.
pictures in 1989.
Jeez.
I was doing some photographs of other things, and in the background I noticed there was a Elvis t-shirt, an Elvis logo. I was shooting a picture on the street, a bus goes by and it says Elvis on it. And the whole roll practically had something to do with Elvis in the background, and that became
That's cool.
a source of fascination. So I took a couple of weeks off and started photographing and changing the focus rather than looking, at what the stuff in the foreground. I started looking for the Elvis images in the background, and I found them everywhere.
It's really Elvis-Lucian. Elvis-Lucian. Elvis is everywhere. Elvis is everything. Elvis is everybody. Elvis is still the king. Man, oh man, what I want you to see that the big inside of you and me. Elvis is everywhere. Elvis is everything. Elvis is everybody. Elvis is still the king. Man, oh man, what I want you to see that the big inside of you and me. Elvis.
Like it, man. Mojo's song "Elvis is Everywhere."
Okay.
People who are Elvis fans think it's an Elvis tribute song, and people who think Elvis was a joke by the end of his life think it's a song poking fun of Elvis.
Yeah.
And it's the whole phenomenon is that way. You can read whatever you want into Elvis.
you're not an Elvis fan, you can't explain why. But if you are, you don't need to.
I've not taken a vacation anywhere but Memphis in 14 years. I mean, one of the reasons is the fact that I like to collect Elvis stuff. I go around the shops trying to find stuff I haven't got. I'm pleased to say it's getting a bit harder. I'm sort of getting on top of it. But you need to be a millionaire to really do it. I think if you were, it would spoil the fun, actually, You know, we're all on a bit of a limited budget, so you have to pick and choose a bit more carefully.
Yes, we are working people and we have to work hard. I work in England, I have a full-time job. I work 5 days a week, 6 days a week, 7 days a week, sometimes 12 hours a day, all to get the extra money to save to be able to come to Memphis every year.
I've got a lot of Elvis records. I've got over 3,000, I really have. Yeah. I'm a collector. And I got, I think when I get home, I'll now have 400 Elvis CDs. And coming up to 400 books. And I'm telling you the truth, I really have got that lot.
You know, I have Elvis's room in my house. It is my favorite room, and I spend the best hours in this room with my friends.
Elvis people, 95% of them are the greatest people on earth. There's 5% they usually show on TV.
The weird ones.
The other kind.
The clouds over Graceland, how they seem to bunch up a lot. Every year on August 17th, on Elvis Aaron Presley's death day, if there was a cloud that resembled Elvis. And if you can notice right now, that these clouds are bunched down over Graceland, and there's not a lot of clouds in the sky right now, if you can notice that.
I used to listen to Dr. Demento all the time.
Here we are in front of Elvis's home, Memphis, Tennessee, and inside this trash can we see a record album of Robert Goulet. Obviously, some fan has burned the record album. Something that Elvis may have done, that we all know that whenever Robert Goulet appeared on television, Elvis would shoot out the television screen.
That's not true.
Coincidentally enough, here is poor Robert.
You know what really thrills me? When I come down here and see the younger generation, I get goosebumps. And I say, oh, Elvis, you got to be looking at, you got to be proud of these kids. You know, I get goosebumps with the younger generation. That's what makes me the proudest as an Elvis fan. Not just of all the fans that come down, but the little guys.
The highlight of each year for the most devoted Elvis fans is Elvis Presley International Tribute Week during the middle of August on the anniversary of Elvis's death. It is like a convention for the 10 or 15,000 fans who fill the hotels in Memphis to capacity as they gather from around the world for a week of activities. They have swap meets and sock hops and rockabilly concerts. They have panel discussions where some of Elvis's friends speak and answer questions and sign autographs or have their pictures taken with the fans. They can tour Elvis's high school and other sites, and they hold fundraising events in Elvis's honor, like this race in front of Graceland, and this charity banquet sponsored by Elvis's former nurse, Marion Koch. There is an Elvis art contest, and one hotel encourages fans to pay tribute to Elvis through this window decorating contest.
So now when you think about it, the way you go around to little places like this that have their annual things for Elvis or their contests, so that just out of the spectrum of Graceland and all the major events for Elvis that go on, you got all these smaller things going on, and I mean it's kind of entertaining to watch that, and it's interesting, but I don't see that with other stars. Usually they're that have passed away.
No.
You know, you don't have little. Just says a lot, man. You know. They never forgot you, Elvis.
Hell no.
The activities of Elvis Week are centered around Graceland, and the existence of such a shrine is essential to the magnetic attraction that Elvis continues to have throughout the year. You can't tour the homes of people like Buddy Holly or James Dean, but Graceland, which is toured by over 600,000 people a year, helps generate ongoing interest in Elvis. Some fans visit Graceland every day while they're in Memphis. For a couple of hours early each morning, they are allowed to walk up and visit the meditation gardens where Elvis, his mother, father, and grandmother are buried. These morning gatherings are small and quiet, and unlike the paid tours through the house later in the day, this time is free to the public. But the main event of Elvis Week is the annual candlelight vigil on the eve of the anniversary of Elvis's death.
Yeah.
Once again, we are privileged to come together and pay tribute to Elvis Presley, a beautiful and loving human being.
It just gets bigger every year.
31 years ago, this place here.
Everybody keeps saying one of these days it's going to die out. One of these days they won't come. It'll never happen.
We light this candle for the people that could not be here with us tonight. The light from this candle joins hearts around the world.
We stand here tonight with Elvis in our hearts and thoughts, so is a dear friend in our hearts and thoughts. Not only do we feel that we've known Elvis forever, we also feel we've known each other forever. The vine of life has intertwined our lives with Elvis's and each other.
Your eyes allowed me to see the kindness, the joy, the sadness, and the love within the man. I can still vividly see the curl of your lip and the pout of your mouth, my love. Elvis, we are filled with the love you gave, which is moving through each of us tonight just as strongly as it did the first time ever we saw your face. As the flame of our candles dance, let it be symbolic of the light that Elvis has left dancing in our hearts.
The vigil has grown to astounding proportions and could now be described as some kind of cultural three-ring circus. In the center ring are the true fans who stand in line for many hours so that they might pass through the gates of Graceland with their candles as they make the solemn and slow walk by the grave sites. In another ring are the curiosity seekers and the media who are there in great numbers, as if almost half the crowd is there to observe and document the other half. Journalists and others descend upon the crowd of fans with scores of cameras, making some fans feel like celebrities and some like freaks. There is also a third contingent, the blatant non-believers. These are mostly young locals who bring beer and stand in groups away from the main crowd as they make fun of the fans and even taunt them with cynical and bigoted remarks. This interaction seems to echo a sense of persecution which has, no doubt, been experienced by other believers throughout history. Some of the old-timers among the fans say they long vigils of the first few years after Elvis died. It seems that much of the purity and spontaneity has been lost since the first vigil, when only 300 or 400 fans stayed on the lawn of Graceland all night together. Perhaps the event was so genuinely unique that the media and the rest of the world soon wanted to know what it was about, and it has snowballed so that now some 10,000 to 15,000 people are herded through Graceland in a long procession at the vigil, and it shows little sign of dying out anytime soon.
Oh, it just made me feel warm on the inside. I just felt close to God, close to Elvis. I think I couldn't believe the presence of all the spirit there, you know.
Well, this year, I don't know why, but it was a lot more emotional for me. I can't hardly talk about it.
Yeah. Well, there's something about Elvis each time that you hear music, or when you saw him sing, you felt like that he was doing it just right to you. And it's amazing how emotional some of the men are. Of course, we fight it back, you know, because we're tough. But the women, they feel more deeply. And they actually, I mean, it's just like a brother. And when they think, it's the same thing as if they had a brother died 14 years ago, and they recall the memories. And how tremendous the brother was, how much they miss him, and then they get teary-eyed. And the men, the ones that feel that way, try not to show it. But there's a lot of us that feel that way because he was just a tremendous human being, the best entertainer and the most charitable entertainer that ever lived.
Hello, welcome to Holly Springs and the historical town, and welcome to a tour of Graceland 2. My name is Paul McLeod. I consider myself, being my son, of being the world's #1 Elvis fan. And I'd like to take this time to introduce you to my son, Elvis-A-Z Presley McLeod.
Graceland 2 is an extraordinary museum and shrine located halfway between
Oh my
Memphis.
God. I can't tell them apart. It
Yeah,
looks
no.
just like Graceland.
Yeah.
And Elvis's birthplace of Tupelo, Mississippi.
What we're doing here, the red staircase, is we're devoted it to Elvis. It's like a stairway to Elvis.
Oh, really?
License plates and whiskey decanters and original boxes that came with everything. And the cardboard cut of Elvis up there at the head. And other little details that we keep around the stairway are pieces of like Elvis's carpet that came from his home, along with the teddy bears.
Paul and Elvis McLeod live in Graceland 2, but it is difficult to see where they sleep because the place is bursting at the seams with their Elvis collection. More than a museum of memorabilia, it is the world's largest archive of Elvis information. The fact is, the McLeods don't sleep very much because they have assigned themselves the responsibility of monitoring all media for mentions of Elvis 24 hours a day. They have a TV room, a radio room, and a newspaper room, and they tape every TV or radio program which even mentions Elvis, and they collect and catalog every book, magazine, or newspaper they can get their hands on.
The books that you see,
Bye, Teresa. Thanks for
hanging. Certain individual tape. For example, this book represents 135 VHS. And on 135 VHS in chronological order contains a daily outline or a diary log of information said on TV for each item that is on this tape in chronological order. For example, this program, 60 Minutes on Channel 3, the date, the time, the channel, what time it was mentioned.
Okay, so this is 31 years ago. Where do you think these two guys are today?
No idea.
Probably standing right there where they're standing right now.
Actually survive is a mystery. Although they have an unlisted telephone number, researchers and journalists
they
still
are.
call
They're
them and
committed.
ask for Elvis information, but no one pays them for their research services. Running Graceland 2 is a full-time job, and they have no other jobs. All their archival work is done by hand. When we visited them, they didn't have a computer or even a typewriter. They had not owned a car in 5 years, and they did not have a checking account. They ask for a $3 donation for the tour,
really?
but they donate the money to the Elvis Presley Memorial Trauma Center in
didn't know
Memphis.
that.
And they'll show you receipts from the trauma center to make sure you believe they aren't going to keep the money.
We have a copy of Elvis's gold suit that he had back in 1957. But this is just a copy of it. Matter of fact, it's also my burial suit. Someday I plan to be buried in a suit like this for me and my son as the world's #1 Elvis fan.
This kind of devotion may be impossible to explain, but a visit to Graceland 2 is definitely worth the trip.
200 years from now, he's going to be a lot like Johnny Appleseed, Uncle Sam. Both were real people at one point, and they had a basis in reality, and now they're just myths.
It's pretty hard to pervert what Elvis's message was because it's all on record for the most part. It's records in movies. So now it seems like the messenger himself is being perverted. Dee accusing him of sleeping with his mother and being bisexual. So the messenger, instead of his message, is being perverted.
Everybody who ever knew Elvis, will be dead, in some time, and then it'll just be all second and third and fourth-hand information. And even people that probably had Elvis in their lives, and they begin to believe the myth too, or they have their own Elvis myth.
There was as many as 12 of us, and Elvis would be 13. And from the very beginning, most of the time, it was 13 of us, including Elvis. And it's like Jesus and his disciples,
He knew he was the myth. I think that's one of the things that caused his life to have both grandeur and pain, is that he was aware that he was an archetypal personage, he also was aware he was common Mississippi clay. And trying to keep both those things in balance to each other was part of the struggle he went through every day, which is why he needed people like his mother or Colonel Parker or the adulation of fans. And in the final years, of course, the drugs. All those things had to do with that disproportion of the two beings.
I think what we're witnessing now, own past going on 10 to 20 years after Elvis's death, is very similar to the creation of a new religion. In socio-psychological terms.
And we don't come to worship Elvis.
Right. As Elvis told everybody, if they called him the king, he says, no, there's only one king, it's Jesus Christ.
Now, you might have some people that are worshiping
I like
him
this woman.
that have a lack of understanding, all right? Those of us who have understanding knows that God is God all by himself, and that Elvis was only the instrument.
In England, the Elvis fan club have lots of conventions and discos and things, and they do these for all different charities in England.
We had a benefit for a little girl by the name of Cashin Pope that needed liver transplant. St. Jude's, La Bonheur, or even an Elvis fan that had all their collection burned, their home burned. There was a young lady over here that got stranded from overseas, and we took up money for her at everything we did.
I kind of feel bad now because I've kind of laughed and joked about a few of these people, but now she's bringing me to reality here on some of this too, is that it doesn't matter how ridiculous they look or they sound or they talk. They love Elvis. They got their community, just like and it made me think of it because it's just like our community we have, or the Elvis community today. I don't mean to make it sound like we've got a closed group of a community. I just, we just got a common group here that's here regularly. These people still go out and carry the humanitarian quality, characteristic of Elvis. And you know what? These people probably, they can't afford to do it, but they do things. They're doing things to help, people, like she just said. So I kind of feel like I owe them an apology for at least laughing at it. I mean, some of them do it on purpose, and it's just the way it is. But who am I to sit here and knock somebody but how they love Elvis? Now, if you're a group that's going to sit there and spew, shit and venom, then, screw you.
It's just basically things that Elvis would do.
Because each year Elvis donated $10,000, $50,000 to 10 different charities every Christmas. And he wouldn't deduct it from his income tax because he didn't think that would be giving it in the right spirit.
I know that the average fan would probably deny that this is a religion in the making because they're not philosophizing. They're not looking at it on that level. They're looking at it as a person that they loved and that gave them back love. But that's what the mystics did. That's what the mystics preached. That's what Jesus preached. That's what Buddha preached. Lao-Tse. All the mystics preached that sort of thing. And if the planet is around 100 years from now, I think there's very little doubt that there will be the religion of the Elvoids, the Elvites, what have you. And the Bible is being written now.
The Elvoids.
Several. At least 6 of the books have been written. The Book of Esther, the Book of the Cook, the Book of the Nurse, the Book of West, the Book of Lacquer.
So you have a story that comes down through time. And with Elvis, this is a story that's becoming more and more embroidered.
She needed a wheelchair. And then when Elvis found out about it, he didn't just call up a store and say, deliver a wheelchair at such and such address. That was not Elvis. Elvis went and purchased a wheelchair and took it to her home, picked that lady up, 70-some-year-old lady up, in his arms, sat her in the wheelchair. He kneeled down, and he put some money in her wrinkled up hand, and she thanked him.
I like the way she tells this story. It's cute.
With tears coming down his eyes, he said, thank you. And he looked up at the guys and he said, this is my reward.
People are obviously getting something from going to this person's home, hearing his music, seeing his possessions, seeing his grave, his last resting place.
It'd be right next to the Encyclopedia of Esposito.
Yeah.
This has rewards.
It's right beneath. It's
And
right
this
beneath the
is
Chronicles of 𝐤𝐤𝐤.
The Chronicles of 𝐤𝐤𝐤, the Book of Lacquer, and what did I say? The Encyclopedia of Esposito.
Yeah.
That's funny shit.
The stuff of this.
When I first got married, my husband was always going to bring us here on an anniversary. Instead, every year I had a baby. And then when it got to be 5 babies, I couldn't afford to come here. And so he said, well, on our 25th wedding anniversary, the youngest should be 18. Then it's our time. I will take you to Graceland to meet Elvis on our silver wedding anniversary. But Elvis died in 77. And then he'd say to me, do you still want to go? I said, yes, I still want to go. Just to hold on to those gates that I have seen in so many pictures, magazines. Yes, I want to go. But then I lost my husband in October, and in April, he would have brought me down. But I still carried my dream. I still carried it through. I was a mess when I was down here. My cheeks were so raw from crying, because I stand at the candlelight service with one candle for Dave, my husband, and one candle for myself, and looking up at the stars in the sky, well, there's 3 kings up there now, Jesus Christ, and my husband, Dave, and Elvis. So there's 3 kings up there. But anyway, so I come down every year. Because I met so much beautiful people that comfort me, like Sylvie.
Couldn't they say, hey, hold on a second, we'll stop recording until this truck goes by? No, they just talking.
Yeah.
I got more comfort here, than I did back in my own home, than I did with my family. I get more comfort here. And it's so sad that we got to leave. We got 365 more days to see each other again, right? But it's so sad that we got to leave each other. And the only way we can keep in touch is through mail, through our letters and our cards. You all see each other every year we see each other. Every year. We meet here every year. It's like a class reunion, So we can meet each other from all over the world. We had pen pals and we meet here.
Now this shows that most of us are made up of things that are rather ordinary and rather, in a way, common. Well, Elvis had all of those wonderful qualities of being just another human being, but he also had that great talent. He had that sensitivity. So that star, quote-unquote, quality that he has, it has permeated the world. And it's that type of thing that you really can't explain, but even if you could, I don't think that you really would want to.
No.
What else to say, but it's been a pleasure being in Memphis, and wherever you are, if you're an Elvis fan, if Elvis was here, I'm sure he'd say something like very much. We'll have you do that again. Yeah, that's right.
The truck came just right on here.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We got all this other noise here. Let's see. Yeah, go for it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, that was kind of entertaining.
Yeah.
You know, one of the better ones, the funny shit in there. It does kind of give you a bit of perspective. It kind of gives you appreciation that there are a lot of groups out there. I'm sure that to this day that people will have their own little get-togethers on the anniversary of his birthday and his passing and yeah, and the comment in my perspective, I'm not a fan of calling something a religion or worshiping Elvis. And it can be. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that view it as view him as a Christ or something like that, and I don't do that. All I do is I look at him as an incredible human being that was brought to this earth.
Yeah.
You know,
It's like everyone does their own thing. I mean, I do it every year on his birthday and on the 16th. Those are the 2 days of the year I play majority Elvis music those days because that's my way of acknowledging what he's done for humanity and what he's done for me in my life.
Yeah.
And there are people that don't understand it, and that's fine. And there's people that knock me for it, and that's fine. But there's other people that leave me be because they know that's how it is, and that's how it is.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. So I have been meaning to try. I'm looking at the clock and I've seen that we've already been on 2 hours and 10 minutes, and I've been really been trying to get into this topic, and I'm beginning to think more and more that I really can't. In order to keep everything flowing good, it's really kind of hard to throw a topic like the Presley courts that I want to talk about, and I've done some work and gotten a lot of help from. I got to figure out a way to make sure that whether people are fine with me mentioning their names or not, because I don't want to break that. But anyway, I've got a lot of help with some of the information that I've gotten together for this thing. So I don't know if it would be better off to do like I was doing with the Priscilla thing, and I am going to do one more thing with Donna, and I'm going to be done with that one. But I don't know if it'd be just better just to say, hey, we're going to have a book chat one day, a topic chat, or however we want to call it, to discuss some. Why is Humpty Dumpty on the screen? Because Humpty Dumpty rules. Anyway, I guess what I'm trying to say is, here it is, 2 hours into it. I want to get into the subject, and maybe I'll just kind of fly through what I want to highlight on some of the. Let me just do this. Share. Okay, let me click cancel. Let me open this up. Okay, I think what I'm going to do, I'm just going to kind of highlight the topic, and then what we can do is see if we all want to take me to your leader. If I have a separate what I'm trying to say, live stream. But basically, the Presley court, I'm sure everybody's familiar with the investment that Elvis made in the Presley court. It was involved with Joe Esposito, Dr. Nick, and there was one other person. So I'm just going to kind of highlight just kind of an overview. It refers to a short-lived racquetball business venture that Elvis Presley entered into in 1976 as a partnership with Memphis developer Mike McMahon, who spearheaded the project, his physician, Dr. Nick, and road manager Joe Esposito. Elvis lent his name for a 25% stake, aiming to create a chain of upscale racquetball and spa facilities. But he withdrew shortly after due to issues, and the business folded by 1981. Ground was broken on sites in Memphis at the curve of Mount Moriah and Mendenhall and Nashville in September 76. After extensive searches, I couldn't find. Oh, there's a lot of information. I got to skip over this part. There's something. I can't see. Okay, so after several searches, I couldn't find any publicly available photos specifically of the Presley Courts facilities. Now, this is what I found. It's kind of interesting here. And I have to go to this other thing right here. Let me get rid of that. Oh, no, I want to keep that on there. So this is Presley Courts. This is the documentation that they put out. Presley Courts, this was a flyer, kind of described the business. In slide 2, this is an interior photo of the place that they were looking at doing this with. This is what information I got from these pictures. Business cards that were made up. Elvis Presley, these are actual photos of the business cards. Gives a layout where it's at. These are all promotional marketing things put together. This is the location it was going to be in Memphis. And there's Elvis's card, chairman of the board. That was Frank Sinatra. That was Frank Sinatra, wasn't it? Chairman of the board, Presley Center Courts. So that's kind of gives you a picture snapshot of videos right here. Let's go back to this. The venture was too brief and obscure to have many surviving images. However, related articles and photos from Elvis's broader involvement in racquetball during that era do exist, including business cards, and that's what I just showed y'all. Elvis Presley may have been enticed into the partnership as a way to gain financial independence from his manager, Colonel Tom Parker, by lending his name and celebrity status in exchange for 25% stake, with no cash investment required. It was just almost like what you call sweat equity. He gave his name to get his 25%. And then it started unraveling. Despite the initial promise, the venture unraveled quickly due to several interconnected issues. Financial management and broken assurances. Partners assured Elvis that no funds would be withdrawn until the business turned profitable. But McMahon began drawing a salary and charged personal expenses such as a company car to the business accounts early on. This included reckless spending on items like a high-paid secretary, which Elvis learned about through his aide. McMahon later claimed Elvis, as a 25% owner, was liable for 25% of the company's debts, including a lease buyout for the buildings, which contradicting the original risk-free verbal agreement that required no cash from Elvis. Elvis was, and now comes his withdrawal. Feeling betrayed, Elvis confronted McMahon in a heated late-night phone call. Wouldn't you like to have that conversation on tape? Even threatening him, possibly attributed by Dr. Nick to medication side effects. He temporarily fired Dr. Nick and expressed deep disappointment in being taken advantage of. Elvis sought advice from Colonel Parker, who had opposed the deal from the outset, viewing it as too good to be true and predicting it wouldn't generate profits. Parker refused to intervene, leaving Elvis to handle it alone. Through his lawyers, Elvis demanded his name be removed from all materials formerly withdrew his support shortly after the project's start. The withdrawal led to a breach of contract lawsuits filed against Elvis in 1977 in McMahon, Nicholas, and Esposito. So what I want to do, I mean, this could really get into a discussion. I don't know if any guys are even interested in this thing. If it's not, just, if it's not something that interests you, let me know, and we'll come up with something else. I just thought, Joe wrote in one of his books, I think it was called Straight Up, where he wrote in the book, he talks about it, and he doesn't mention the fact that he was part of the lawsuit against Elvis, but he talks about it in his book as if there was a lawsuit, but it doesn't say anything about him being part of it.
Naturally.
So the matter was settled. Elvis paid approximately $25,000 in damages for the rebranding expenses. Elvis provided a $40,000 loan at 7% interest for 3 years to cover lease obligations, which was repaid within 120 days. Joe Esposito's mother had mortgaged her house to fund the project, which reportedly influenced Elvis's decision to settle to avoid her financial ruin. Personal relationships soured initially. Elvis harbored bad feelings toward Nick and Esposito, but they reconciled later. And you know, that's the one thing about Elvis. He could very, you know, he'd get pissed, but he would, you know, he had a forgiving spirit. The ultimate, hold on one second, let me take a sec. Without Elvis's name and endorsement, investor interest waned dramatically, making it difficult to secure financing within the 1-year deadline. The club never fully launched and closed by the summer of 1976. And from what I understand, this was the only venture that Elvis ever invested in. And investing with people close to him. And it just goes to show you, you know, if they did this to him when he was alive, you know, why do I don't think that I give much trust and credence that a lot of people. Well, I never really did in Joe, anyways. You know, Joe seemed to be a really good guy. But you know, you want a real goody buddy, but stab you in the back when you turn around. You know, overall, the failure stemmed from a combination of trust breaches, poor financial oversight, and wasn't Joe a financial advisor? Wasn't that as a finance manager or a?
No, you're thinking of Marty Laco.
Well, then what was Joe's business background? I thought he had something to do with money. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, it was Marty was an accountant. He had accountant background.
I don't know why this is starting to do this again. Presley Center Court stands as an example of poor management, problem of doing business with friends, and missed potentials. I refused always to do business with friends, relatives. After you know, I had been screwed by each at one time. I never. That was it. I you know, I'll forgive you. I'll love you if you're a relative, you know, and I'll be there for you. But that moment in time, it ends any future reoccurrences.
Yeah.
And yet, Tracy, in Esposito's book, he mentions he and Dr. Nick were too busy to keep an eye on McMahon, but accounts like Elvis was a poor manager. Yeah. So Elvis's role was more symbolic than active. He invested and lent his name. Why would he be any more than just a name, you know, as if he had time to run a racquetball business? Just, you know, put his name on it and an investment. And Elvis' financing comes mostly from Elvis's earnings, and business partners supply the idea, but not much real capital. Failure. Mismanagement was built on hype, not strategy. Friends with no fitness industry background. Overhead costs. The complex was expensive to maintain. Limited appeal. Memphis was not the same type of market as LA or New York, where racquetball courts and clubs flourished. And Elvis's declining focus by the mid-70s, Elvis's health. Colonel Parker's resistance, you know, it was just built for failure from the second it came into somebody's mind.
Bad time, bad choice, bad everything.
Yeah. But the fact that, let me find this. Anecdotes and references. This has got some numbers. I'm looking for something that showed some numbers. Okay, so doing business with friends or private physicians is a bad idea. In Marty Lacker's book, the Elvis Portrait of a Friend, written around 1978, there's a chapter called "The Price of Healthcare," I believe, written by from author directly. On page 334, it states that there's a promissory note dated March 3rd, 1977. Elvis was the holder of the note for a property listed to Dr. Nick and his wife in the amount of $25,000 he lent Dr. Nick. Also on that page, it states that when Elvis passed, public records showed that Dr. Nick owed Elvis $250,000. I've heard that before. $200,000 of that money was non-interest bearing. To put in perspective, on the internet, conversion is $1,332,000 today.
Whoa. Cha-ching.
I know. The following speculation on an anecdote in Shirley Dew's book provided through email by subscriber. So, in Shirley Dew's memoir, Memphis Mafia Princess from 2017, based on her experiences as Joe Esposito's girlfriend from 74 to 77, it describes a dramatic incident in 19... This is, I'm not getting, I got to do something about this. This is not... I'm getting mad at this board. We ain't got much longer. During which she was closely involved with Elvis Presley and his inner circle. It describes a dramatic incident involving Elvis, his road manager Joe, Dr. Nick. In 76, Shirley Dew and Joe Esposito are on vacation in Hawaii. Elvis calls Joe, urgently summoning him to return from Hawaii. Shirley and Joe cut their vacation short and fly to meet Elvis. Joe, Dr. Nick, and Elvis ends up in a heated argument in a room, reportedly about medication, a euphemism for Elvis's prescription drug use. Shirley leaves the suite and returns to her own room. And a speculation from whoever wrote this is subscribers questions why Elvis would summon Joe. Specifically, my mouth is so dry, for a medication discussion, suggesting that Elvis might avoid such topics. Instead, they hypothesized the real issue was the Presley Center Court's business venture, including name changes and potential lawsuits, which coincided with the 1976 events right there. The narrative blends personal drama and hints. To put it in historical context, documented events from Elvis's life in 1976. This is a turbulent year. Elvis turned 41. His health deteriorated due to chronic prescription drug abuse. He toured extensively, and internal conflicts escalated within his Memphis Mafia entourage. And according to Peter Goralnik, they had broken ground on the Memphis and Nashville clubs in the middle of April 76. But things started to go wrong as McMahon claimed that Elvis had to put up money for a buyout of the leases on the two buildings currently under construction. And when Elvis balked, informed him that by becoming 25% owner of the corporation, he was liable for 25% of its debts. It was found that McMahon had been taking a salary, and we read that earlier. Elvis's lawyers got involved, and he withdrew his support. Now he paid $25,000 in damages. And Dr. Nick and Joe were forgiven, and next year Elvis loaned $55,000 to Nick. I tell you what, when that just says a lot about Elvis. You know,
they just screwed him over hugely. He ends up having to pay for the fuck up, and then he still lends the guy money. Jeez.
I think it was built for failure because it was Esposito and Dr. Nick, and McMahon relied on Elvis's thinking. Nothing else was required. That's how you do business. That's a good point, Vangello. Yeah. Joe talks about the rise in interest. This is in his book, a rise of interest in racquetball, and that he, Dr. Nick, and the real estate developer Mike McMahon felt it would be smart to invest in a court of their own. They decided to discuss the idea with Elvis to see if he would support of the idea. Joe says there was one caveat. Elvis told them, "You've got to go talk to my daddy about this. He handles these type of things." Joe then goes on to write that Vernon lacked education and had lack of business savvy, whatsoever. Unbelievably, was in charge of Elvis's financial matters. He mentions Vernon being terrified of Elvis's reckless spending, and Joe says Vernon had a consistent track record concerning all his financial investments. They all consistently lost money. As proof, Joe said that Vernon missed out on a Sweetheart Wendy's hamburger investment for the entire state of Nevada. You know, that's just not one person it happens to.
No.
Let's see, Songman. I knew some of this story about Presley Center Courts, but I'm learning a lot of this new. Thanks for providing this. Yeah, this is what I kind of like to do. I kind of like to talk about things like this, and I had so many different notes, and I really and I love it. You guys keep sending me stuff like this. I love this. I want to try to get a series going. I want to get on these books going too. But let's finish this one off real quick. Joe says the structure of the racquetball deal was Elvis would lend the name Presley, put up $75,000 startup money, and become a partner. Joe then says expenses started soaring. The project cost a lot more than they thought. They were consistently in the red and found out that the partner, McMahon, was using money to finance remodeling his own home. Joe said that Dr. Nick and himself were not involved in the day-to-day operations because they were busy with Elvis. He said that they weren't around to watch what Mike McMahon was doing. That's your first mistake. That's your second mistake right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. Yeah. Joe said Elvis decided to get back out when Vernon told him what was happening. He said Vernon used it as an excuse because he didn't like the idea. Joe then says a lawsuit was filed against Elvis. See, this is Joe says a lawsuit was filed. He didn't say we filed a lawsuit against Elvis. So he's kind of pulling himself out of the situation. But nothing ever happened and eventually went away. Joe said the deal almost bankrupted them, I guess meaning himself and Dr. Nick. Joe then goes on to say that he and Dr. Nick didn't want to cause Elvis any stress, and the nature of a business is always a gamble. Then he writes, the truth is Elvis is just not cut out to be a business mogul. Well, most people, that's such a lame fucking excuse.
And Joe and Dr. Nick were. That's why everything went pear shaped. And when they had
that's why people like Elvis's stature, they align themselves with people that are savvy to that investment. So many stars today are smart, or rock stars, whoever. They've taken their money and invested it in things. Look, I think of Sammy Hagar with his tequila business down in the Caribbean, or Mark Wahlberg and his businesses that he's got with his brothers. You just align yourself with the right people to establish businesses. Yeah. You're dead on, Naja. Joe was a sneaky sneaky dick, almost sneaky snake. Well, I was right the first time too. The most famous survivor of this failed venture was the Graceland Racquetball building, which today houses Elvis's trophies, stage costumes, and memorabilia as part of the official Graceland tour. Wow. That's interesting. Although the commercial club disappeared, Elvis's Graceland Racquetball building became his personal legacy in this trend. According to 𝐫𝐞𝐬𝐩𝐿's book, the racquetball court at Graceland would be easily converted to a recording studio. I've heard, you and I've talked about this a lot of times. On the eve of August 16th, 1977, in the Graceland Racquetball building is where he famously played his last game before his tragic death. There is a piano in the building, and Elvis sang his last two songs, Blue Eyes and Unchained Melody. So that's kind of an overview, of that. Let me do this. I just want to kind of share one more thing with you from all this. Hope this fits in there right. Oh, it's not going to fit in there right. I have to, let's see if I have to. There we go. So these are the actual documents, signatures, notes, and all that. There we go. This is the business contract, and it's not. I'm not going to be able to read it here, but it's got all the signatures, and the agreements. And it brings it like right here. Upon terms and conditions which have been agreed upon between the parties, but which lease has not yet been factually drafted. And then you see Elvis's. You can see Elvis's. What do you call it? Initials.
Hmm.
$2,500 earnest money deposited by 𝐫𝐞𝐬𝐲. There's all the. So Elvis put in 75,000 and he put in 2,500.
Yeah, that's
Anyway,
a big red. That's a big red flag there.
that's just an example of how. Not, you know what? Things don't stay hidden.
No.
I don't care how long you've been gone. You know, I'd never heard that. I'd heard about the investment in the racquetball. Like you guys have heard my story about how I've gotten into YouTube and learning. I've learned more in the last 3 years about Elvis than I ever learned beforehand.
Yeah.
Because I was mostly a you know, loving his music, and you know, I knew a lot about his music and was listening to the sessions. But anyway, let's kind of update everything what's going on so we get ready. We'll have our coffee date tomorrow. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. live gospel music for 1 hour. Blue Moon
Yeah,
Radio.
not today, tomorrow.
I know, you guys. I woke up this morning and I thought it was like I'm sitting there and I'm putting everything together to do the broadcast of the gospel, and I realized today was Saturday, not Sunday, and I didn't realize that until like 10 minutes before 9. Kyle goes, did you put a notice out about gospel music this morning? I said, yeah. I said, then I realized it wasn't Sunday yet. I pulled them off quick. So anyway, tomorrow at 1 o'clock, at 9 a.m. will be the gospel music. I'll put a notification out today. And then we got the coffee date at 1 o'clock. We have the Zoom movie, our normal weekly Zoom movie. I have been updating the website, so just go to Elvis-A-Z.com, and you'll see updates on everything. Cam and I had a freaking blast last night on the radio.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was our second one, right?
Yeah.
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 So
it was the second one.
And we had our helicopter reports, and we had some listeners and great requests and great music, and I was determined that the whole night was going. We wound up going almost 2 hours, Cam afterwards. Yeah, that was a fast 2 hours.
Hour and 50. Hour and 50.
Yeah. So we had fun. So that's every Friday at 10 o'clock. That show is every week. Cam and I.
We even had Reverend Carruthers pray for everybody.
Yeah. The cover photo, the cover page, someone wrote Joe, Nick, Mike. Oh. Yeah, Natalie was there last night. I know Kathleen was there. We were just I loved it. By the end of it, I thought, man, we can really have some fun with this one. So be ready for it. And then we got Sunday. Like I said, the schedule will be out. Tuesday, our Zoom movie. Every week, we will be doing a Zoom movie on Tuesdays. This coming Tuesday is going to be the 1979 Kurt Russell Elvis movie. We're going to do it in 2 parts because it's almost 3.5 hours long. So, or a little over 3 hours, because it was a 2-parter when they put it out. So we're going to do one part on Tuesday this week and the other part next week. We'll finish it off the next week. And Also, to all of you who joined me last Monday for the Zoom discussion on the fan club, I got my information back from EPE. Monday, I'm going to do another. I want to do another Zoom meeting with everybody, anybody, and everybody that wants to get in on the discussion about trying to create a EP approved fan club. And okay, buddy, you're adamant, Dad. Shut up. Give me my dog bones. He was shoving my arm.
Shame.
So anyway, I got the document. If you got, I don't have everybody's email. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to upload the document to the Discord, and I'll upload it into the channel that says Fan Club. I created a channel. You know how you got the Blue Moon one? Well, I created the Fan Club one. So I'm going to upload that document into that Discord channel. So anybody that wants to read it can read it. And if you want to become part of the discussion of trying to figure out if there's a possibility of us getting a
I would love that.
And if that was the case, that would free up
authenticated by
our
EP.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm excited about that. And they were really nice in the emails. Originally, they replied like real quick within a couple of hours the first time I sent it. And they just came, it was almost like a chain reaction. I guess they're getting ready to renew the approvals each year. And that's coming up. So they replied back, new renewals don't start to this and this. So I replied back, no. I said, I want the information that I need in order to create a fan club approved by the okay, I'm so sorry. It was really nice. And so they added it too. It's only a 1-page document. So we're going to read it tomorrow, Monday, on the Zoom meeting. And we're going to do that at 3:00 in the afternoon on Monday.
Okay.
So that's it shouldn't be too long of a discussion. So I'll make sure that everybody has that. What should I create?
Yeah. I'm also lost.
Okay, Naja, you can take part. There's no I don't know if I have your email or not. But if you get a chance, I don't know. I mean, some people don't want to download apps like that, but this was it's a really nice opportunity for us to have discussions within just this Elvis-A-Z group, and we can have discussions. I could post things. We can have, and you guys could on there. That's where you do the song requests. So if I may join late. I have an appointment at that time. Right? Okay, I'll send you all the information anyways. But I'm sure we won't be done in 5 minutes.
we should record it and then you send it to Kathleen as an MP3. She can listen to it later.
Let's see. What do you think? Don't forget about our coat poll tomorrow. It's hard to say that real quick. For those of you. I deleted it. So what we're going to do is tomorrow we're going to start put in your suggestions of add to. For those of you who were part of the butt poll, we're going to do something similar, but this is going to be a coat poll. So we're going to take a vote of these 6 coats that Elvis wore. We're going to do a poll, and what we'll do is we're going to actually I'm not going to use all 6. I'm going to start off with 3. I want to do a couple. I want to kind of wind it down, kind of do the, semifinals, all that kind of, have the Sunday Night Football. So you got that one. You got the one. That's when he's leaving that. I think it was an LA eye doctor.
Yeah, Beverly Hills.
There's that one. Love that leather coat. Looks cool. He looks great in that. Everything. I love that jacket. Mr. Cool.
With the cigar.
You know what I think of? Anybody see that thing you do? Have you ever seen that? It's a Tom Hanks made the movie. It's kind of like a little the Beatles, discovery of it's like they're a one-hit wonder, but they come out. It's really cool, good movie. It's hilarious. Well, there's an entertainer. Every time I see this and think of Mr. Cool, Mr. Cool, I think of that song, Mr. Downtown. There's a song in the movie. Tom Hanks wrote some of the songs in that movie too.
Wow.
I'll upload it to your drive. You watch it, you'll enjoy it. It's really good.
Uh-huh.
Great song. Songs are great. And then we got the sixth one right there. It was back from the I call that the Inspector Clouseau jacket.
Yeah.
So got that, covered that. Not too bad now. I think we're getting through everything. Okay, so tomorrow, two things. Let's finish it off with it. We're going to finish it off with this. Tomorrow, hope you guys can make it because Cam's got something to discuss. Very good news.
And no, I'm not pregnant, guys.
Yeah, and no, I'm not the father.
No.
So he's got something he wants to talk about. It's a really great news. And for those of you who haven't noticed, it sounds better. So I think I told everybody at the beginning, some of you have come in, but I've been listening to the whole show and I've just noticed how Cam's vocals are so much deeper and better now. And his lighting's better. So it's pretty cool. And just, we could really see the skin of his chest and the glycerin.
So I can also do the false bass voice now.
Oh yeah. We always got a double dose of Barry White today. Barry on your left, Barry on your right, Barry down
B&B.
B&B. All right. So anyways,
Barry
he
and
got that. I've got something. I've got a journey that I'm getting ready to go on, and I'm going to discuss it tomorrow. I don't want to do it today because it's going to take a while. But this is a well. I don't want to just get things people starting thinking, but it has to do with me and my journey and a goal that I've made to try to get to Graceland on the 50th anniversary. And that requires some. So I'm gonna let y'all know what I'm going to do that, because it's going to involve several things with me personally. Good news, it's going to be, but I'm a driven person, and it's a big challenge. So it's a separate YouTube channel I'm going to be using for this journey. So I'm going to share that with everybody tomorrow. I've just finally come to a decision. I know a lot of you are familiar with the movie Shawshank Redemption. There's a line in the movie that I was sitting there, something popped up on YouTube one day where you get the little shorts and all that. And somebody come and they had the scene with Freeman and Tim. Can't think of Tim's last name real quick. Anyways, there's a line that Red says, "Get busy living or get busy dying." So I've decided it's time to just get busy and get back to where I need to be. Okay, Rick, we can have a meetup. I am hoping to be there in 2027. So just want to let y'all know that I have some goals to go, and a lot of what I'm getting ready to do is, I would say, 50% inspiration from my time with Cam for the last year. So I figured, I can't just sit back, and this is just a journey that I'm going to need, that I'm hoping I get just support from. So anyway, I don't know what else I have to say. You got anything else? Anybody? Hey, everybody, thank you. I had a blast.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great video. I thought it and great, but it was just very entertaining. It's better than some of the crap we've had, we didn't have Joe, we didn't have Jerry, we didn't have Priscilla, we didn't have Larry Giller, all that. Getting ready to sneeze here. So anyway,
at times it was irritatingly entertaining.
That's the word we came up with, isn't it? That's a good one. All right.
And those guys that will be available tomorrow, please join us. We got some really good things to share with you guys. It's important that you guys are there tomorrow. I almost want to say, in inverted commas, it's mandatory, because you guys are just as much a part of the process as we are. So if you guys are not here to hear what our plans are and what the good news is, it would be a little bit of a downer. So if you guys would be available tomorrow for our coffee date, to be there to share the news with us,
That's
please
1
do
o'clock
try.
our time, Naja. I'll put an announcement out tomorrow. Are you still in? I was going through. Are you in my Elvis-A-Z Facebook group, Naja? Because I put all the announcements in there too. So if you're not part of Discord, you can do that. But yeah, it would be it would just kind of be motivating, and I think you'll enjoy some of the news, and you'll also I think just with the encouragement that I've gotten from a lot of you over the last 6 months or so, or the last year, this is going to be I'm taking that encouragement and running with it. So 1 o'clock tomorrow, I'll put everything out tonight. What is it now? It's 6 o'clock. So I'll have the web page updated, and all the news about that. So you guys anything else, Cam?
No, besides my usual thank you to everybody and to everyone that was there last night with the radio show. Thank you for popping in. Thank you for the request. We had a blast. There was a rocking playlist, and it was fun. It was really good.
Yeah. All right, guys. I'm going to take it out with. I just picked this one because I love the intro, but we're going to take it out with "Burning Love."
Oh.
Woo!